6 hash.
Now that pick 4 numbers.
It's a no crosser.
What that? I can draw when I don't know. 10
numbers from 0 to 9 up to 3 times daily to become one of our daily lucky winners. Dial *946 hash to play now. Or you can also play online at www.gamepackgames.com. Game Park is regulated by the National Lottery Authority.
Electoral Commission na shirye-shiryen soma limited voters registration exercise daga ran talata 7th May zuwa litini 27th May 2024 yadda waɗanda sun ka samu shekara 18 yanzu ko waɗanda ba su samu yin rajista a baya ba za su tafi district office in commission mafi kusa su rajista su samu yin zaɓe a presidential da parliamentary election December 7th 2024 kowane halittaccen ɗan Ghana ya ziyarci ofishin EC cikin districtinsa a zababbun electoral area yankin da universities jama'a ya gabatar da Ghana cardinsa ko passport da digital addressing gidansa don a saka sunansa cikin rajistar masu zaɓe. Wadda ba shi da Ghana card ko passport zai bukaci mutum biyu da sun rajista ku su garanti rajistansa. Karka rajista kuma in ka batar da voter ID cardinka. Bayan registration exercise za a so mai voter ID kasin da sun kabata da transfer zaɓe da bar wani yayi maka zaɓe wato proxy voting daga ran Alhamis 30th May a ƙare a ran Juma'a 14th June 2024. Laifi ne garanta ya garanti wasu sama da mutum 10 da waɗanda ba 'yan Ghana ne ba da waɗanda ba su kai shekara 18 ba za a gufatar da ba su garanti da sun ka saba wannan. Wannan voters registration exercise bangare ne na kokarin tabbatar da sahihin zaben gaskiya da adalci cikin kwanciyar hankali da limana a Ghana. Ku rajista ku yi zabe. Zaben ku ne makomanku. Your vote is your power.
Good show, everyone.
I can't believe the season's nearly over.
It sucks. I mean, I have no idea what I'm going to do with all this time on my hands.
That's a big deal.
Yep.
This is GoTV, and right here is where you can catch
the Euro 2024 live.
That's right. I'm talking about all the heavyweights like Spain, Italy, Germany, England, Portugal, and many more in one place.
It's going to be epic.
You said it. We bring you the brilliance of Mbappe, the scoring power of Kane, Ronaldo's, and all of the greats fighting for the glory to be crowned the kings of Europe.
Now that's what I'm talking about.
Don't miss the unbeatable action of all 51 games of Europe's biggest football event live on SuperSport on GoTV and GoTV Stream. The Euro 2024 live. That's GoTV for you. Love it.
Undoubtedly the premier and leading provider of Chinese herbal medicine in Ghana, Beijing Clinic, established by Dr. John Jan in 1996 and licensed by the Ministry of Health to provide traditional herbal treatment, is reputed for providing excellent general health care in Ghana. Beijing Clinic provides treatment for various ailments through a combination of Chinese herbs and medicine, acupuncture, massage, diet and physiotherapy, ably supported by well-trained staff who are sent on periodic Undoubtedly the premier and leading provider of Chinese herbal medicine in Ghana, Beijing Clinic, established by Dr. John Jan in 1996 and licensed by the Ministry of Health to provide traditional herbal treatment, is reputed for providing excellent general health care in Ghana. Beijing Clinic provides treatment for various ailments through a combination of Chinese herbs and medicine, acupuncture, massage, diet and physiotherapy, ably supported by well-trained staff who are sent on periodic training and skill upgrading in the traditional herbal treatment in China.
Beijing Clinic has been here for over 30 years and we are specialized in the treatment of stroke, diabetes and pain, all kinds of pain. Either you have a waist pain, lower back pain, leg pain, your ankle, concerning your spinal cord, we are into it and we will help you out. We use Chinese modern medications and treatments that we use to test and check for the condition. Then we can use our Chinese medications and the treatments which are very effective and potent to touch you at the appropriate time. Then you are worked up of a stroke.
Beijing Clinic also specializes in the effective treatment of all category of pains, be it joint, lumbar, shoulder, knee, heel or muscle pains. Body pain treatment is done with the use of effective Chinese herbs, medicines and techniques including acupotomy, which is a new technology in acupuncture and medical massage.
We have a well-trained staff here when it comes to massage. We do massage, gua sha, cupping to also relieve the tensions in the muscles for the nerves and the blood vessels to be free for the pains to go. So when you are dealing with pain, please, Beijing Clinic is the best place to come because we are number one pain reliever.
Beijing Clinic has over the years provided very satisfactory treatment of difficult to treat ailments such as stroke. Stroke, a dreaded ailment that sufferers most often resign their fate to due to the perceived difficulty in treatment, is fast becoming a rising health concern in Ghana. Many sufferers of stroke have had the surprise of their lives when what they thought was going to be a life of partial paralysis and misery turned out to be hope for a future of lively activity after visiting Beijing Clinic.
Seminai bonkuno eya nyunu a na nifa no enso so aye hyehyehye e free December yede me call hospital me share shoe bio because me na wura mpaboa mu a de dwuma ebedi me no ma we bi na me use a metimi de nante me de me buy 10 days me na me kuta poma no me nia dase hunu nyame adom mato poma na twene me a me ntimi nante no through Dr. Jan Beijing Clinic ewo osu. Now I'm wearing shoe so unua yare ewo stroke fanabra Beijing Clinic
ananga wurin munga muna jinya ciwo daban-daban da yawa kamar ciwon stroke, ciwon hawan jini, diabetes da su sauran duka muna yin nan ga. Indai ka zo nan ga kamar yanda dai ka je China zuwa jinya don abin da suke wuri shi no muke yin nan ga. Shi yasa akwai hanyar da ku duka da ku ya ku zo kowanne ciwo kake da shi in ka zo zaka samu jinya nan ga.
We always say that prevention better than cure. So if a patient or your family member have a little bit of problem, try to do the checkup and proper treatments. Don't be delayed.
Locate Beijing Clinic at Osu Ari, in Numasa Street behind Papaye Fast Food, or call us on 0244 262 078. Beijing Clinic, you never go with the sickness you came with.
The race to Jubilee House is on. Ghana is at a crossroads.
It's time again for the people to choose, and the world is watching.
In a nation where every vote counts, every voice matters, there's one name you can trust for your election coverage.
JoyNews, your election headquarters.
A team of seasoned journalists will bring you up-to-the-minute updates, unbiased analysis, and the stories behind the headlines.
The election headquarters for an informed electorate. JoyNews, independent, fearless, credible.
Thanks for joining us on Focus on Africa. I'm Waihiga Mwaura.
This is a covert operation on the hunt to catch a criminal.
We've been here for nearly a week, and this camp seems to grow every day.
The nightmare of hyperinflation has haunted Zimbabwe for over 20 years now.
Why is racism seemingly such a hard nut to crack for La Liga?
I think they are the first to say that they have not done enough.
Now to a new bill that could change the lives of African students in the United Kingdom, but not for the better. Well, joining me now in studio is Anita Nkonge, the BBC's youth reporter. I imagine there have been quite some reactions to that announcement by the UK government?
Yes, a whole bunch of mixed reactions.
For months, I've been investigating a form of blackmail that has become so prevalent in Nigeria that it's got its own name: keto.
How widespread would you say this blackmail phenomenon known as keto is in Nigeria?
Every week they get about 20 to 30 reports of cases of people saying that they either were close to be blackmailed.
The BBC's Umaru Fofana is in Freetown.
Hardly would anybody have predicted that in our lifetime we would see it lying down like this.
Climate change is here, and it's still, it is here. We have to change our ways, or it is going to teach us a lot of lessons.
The Advechi Living Water Expedition is a research expedition and also a swim to draw attention to the influx of textiles to Ghana, specifically second-hand clothing waste.
What can the citizens themselves do to protect themselves?
So look at how you can empower the health sector, education and agriculture, and the water sector.
It is not that Spain is a racist country, but that they acknowledge that there is a problem of education that must be dealt with.
The BBC's Nyasha Michelle has been talking to the British actress and finding out more about the show.
What would you say to those who are saying it's pushing a particular Afrocentrism narrative?
Why, if there's a possibility that she might have been of biracial heritage, she can't be played by an actress of biracial heritage?
From me and the rest of the Focus on Africa team, it's goodbye.
Hello beautiful people, welcome once again to Home Tips with Mira. You know the program is always about home tips, DIYs, things you can do yourself and home remedies. So today we are looking at the magical uses of onion. Apart from using onion to cook, there are other uses. You can use onion to cook your stews, your sauces, your stir fries or your soup. But apart from that, there's the other side of the usage of onions that I want to share with you. So let's go for a break, and when we come back, I'll share more on onions with you. Onions are one of the most used vegetables in cooking. I believe that even today, if you are cooking, you are going to use onion in your food. And there are different kinds of onion. There's a shallot, white onion, yellow onion, and the red or the purple onion. And then we have the spring onion. Depending on what you want to do, if it is for salad, somebody will go for the white onion. If it is sandwich, somebody can go for the yellow onion or the red onion. It depends on you. But each of the onions that I have here can be used in your cooking because each one has a distinct flavor. So it's based on your preference. Mostly I use the shallots for cooking my soup. You know,
Peeling the shallot is a bit difficult, so I know most people don't like it, but you know, it adds some superb flavors to your meals when you cook with it. And then I have the spring onion, and before I talk about it, I just want to share with you how you can even store your spring onions. That is, if you have them in excess, just make sure that you wash them very well, because usually there's sand all over it, and you can just chop the onions into pieces and then store it in a Ziploc bag, and then you keep it in the refrigerator or the freezer. Make sure that when you are sealing, when you get to the latter part, you don't seal, and then you squeeze for all the air to come out before you finally seal it. So here it is. I've taken all the air out. So you keep this in your fridge or your freezer. If it goes in the freezer, make sure that when you pick it like this, it goes straight into your stew, and don't thaw it. Just put it in your stew or however you want to use it. And then you can use this rubber, you know, wrap it around. After you are finished washing it, you can just wrap it in this rubber and keep it in the refrigerator. It can be there for a very long time. So here you are, you keep this one in the refrigerator, not the freezer, the refrigerator. And what are some of the uses of this spring onion? In fact, you can use it in your stir fries, use it for your stew, you can add it with other herbs or ginger, onion and garlic, and then you blend, keep it in the fridge and use it, you know, to season your meat or marinate, or you can also use it in your green sauces. And one thing that you can also use this for is that when you are pounding your palm nuts for your palm nut soup, your abenquine, you can add this spring onions to the palm nut and pound. It gives it this you know, delicious flavor and aroma when you use it to make your soup. So try and always, you know, when you go to the market, get some of the spring onions, and when you come home, use it in your daily cooking. So I told you I was going to show you some magical use of onion. Maybe some of you know, but others too, I believe this will be something very new. So what you can use your onion for is that you can use it as a cough syrup. You know, you can mix the onion with honey, and then, you know, you turn it into a cough syrup. So let me show you how you do it. First of all, you try and select fresh onion like I have here. It shouldn't be showing symptoms of rottenness. So you cut it. After cutting, then you wash the onion. After you wash the onion, make sure that you pat the onion dry. The water shouldn't be on the onion. And then you cut it into smaller pieces so that we can have a wider surface area of the onion. After you are done, just pack everything into a bottle. I usually prefer using glass bottle. Pack all the chopped onions into the glass bottle. If you cut onions and you know that you don't have an immediate use for it, please make sure that you cover it, because onions are able to absorb you know, certain bacteria from the environment. Maybe you are grinding some small pepper and you have such a big onion and you cut half and you put it down. The onion will absorb the bacteria from the environment, and it is not so safe for your consumption. So make sure that you either use your onion wholly, use everything up, or you get smaller ones that you use. Don't cut and leave it in the open. So I'm pouring my honey on the onion. You see, I have the onion is just like half of the glass, so I'm going to pour the onion for it to be full. Okay. So now just shake it a bit. And keep it down. Like I said, you can keep it in your fridge, or you can keep it at room temperature, and it will not spoil. It will just be there. So long as the honey is there, this syrup will also last. And you know, if you're not too comfortable with the onion to be in the honey, wait, and after 3 days, just sieve it so that you can just get the onions out, and then you'll be left with your mixture. But I prefer the onion to be in the mixture as long as it will be there. And did you know that you can also use onions for your hair? Yes, you know, onions contain sulfur, and that is why when you are casting the onions, when the sulfur enters your eye, then you know it will sting your eye and then tears will be coming out of your eyes. So the sulfur in the onion, especially the red one, it helps so much with hair growth. And you know what you can do is that just cut the onion, maybe grind it or blend it. Just blend it raw like that, don't add anything. And then when you get the juice, you can just massage it gently into your scalp, and then you wait for about 30 minutes and then you wash it with mild shampoo. It will make sure that you know your hair grows very well, and then it will give your hair this shiny look. So you can also use onion juice for your hair. This is all time will permit us to share. So if you want more about the magical uses of onion, please go on my YouTube page, Home Tips with Mira, and please subscribe if you haven't done so, and you find the video there. And please, you can also visit me on my Facebook page, still Home Tips with Mira. Until I bring another exciting episode your way, please keep watching and stay positive.
Mental illness affects men and women, young and old, rich and poor. We all must support one another. That's what it means to be our brother's keeper. Hello, my name is Akese Brimpong, and I support the Mental Health Week.
How come say we all day my time inside, we all they suffer. Something they cause me, they cause you, they cause your son and daughter. Where we all feel come together and try to sort each other. Then you go turn around and sell out just because of dollar. Man just they think how fast he go fetch up something today. Forget about him, people, make them find them our own way. Forgetting, say the same people put on for where he day. He cast too high to see suffering below, he's too far away. Them get eyes, but them know they see. Them get heart, but them know they feel. Some too they get mind, but them know they think. That be why we all day inside a boat where we they sink. I say them get eyes, but them know they see. Them get heart, but them know they feel. Some too they get mind, but them know they think. That be why we out there inside a boat where we they sink. Myopia, they know they see nothing. Ice cold heart, they know they feel nothing. Bad minds, all they know they think about you. That be why we all day inside a boat where we they sink. I say myopia, they know they see nothing. Ice cold heart, they know they feel nothing. Bad minds, all they know they think about you. That be why we all day inside a boat where we they sink. I say them get eyes, but them know they see. Them get heart, but them know they feel. Some too they get mind, but them know they think. That be why we all day inside a boat where we they sink. I say them get eyes, but them know they see. them get hearts, but them know they feel. Some too they get mind, but them know they think. Don't be wily all day inside the boats where we they sink gold.
Of the factory, there have been several narratives as to why the factory hasn't been put to work.
Where factory no one yet a hero for one come to Vitas and man and wash him free now, no other wash a kahuni, or what crack a teacher one in semi processed sugar, and what's it a bogum that we face it.
My name is Kwame Kakeri. I'm a professor in communication studies. I have been a teacher for many, many years, and I have therefore come in contact with so many people, young people, adults, parents, academics, and so many people in different walks of life. In my encounter with people, I have realized that we often do not pay much attention to individuals who have certain psychological problems that lead to some kinds of mental health problems. But our mental health is as important as the health of any part of our body, if not the most important. Therefore, we must pay attention to how we all behave, how we each other relate, in order that we can help each other in different ways. Because when people have mental problems, they themselves may not be able to know how to seek help. That is why family is important. That is why good friendship is important. That is why community is important. We must support each other, find ways of encouraging each other to live lives that give us solidarity among ourselves. It's important that when we detect any sign of mental or psychological problems in each other, we find solutions. And the solutions are always with the specialists. I would like to say that we should disabuse our minds that people with mental health are only those who we call mad people walking on the street naked and so on. No, there are many levels of mental health problems. So it's important that we all contribute to finding support to such institutions and this care that is so vital for everybody, every family, and the whole community.
Did you know that some videos circulating on social media falsely claiming to be from JoyNews and advertising some drugs are fakes? These fake videos advertise unapproved medicines using deep fakes of our presenters to endorse these medicines. Here's one example.
Blood pressure exceeds 120/80, internal organs are affected, and a stroke occurs. A famous doctor has developed a drug that prevents high blood pressure.
You can learn to spot these fake videos. Here's how. The first sign. Notice how the lips of the anchor do not exactly match the words being spoken. Also, pay attention to the JoyNews logo in the bottom left corner. With a real JoyNews logo, the globe rotates. If you spot a static logo, it is an indication the video you're watching is fake. Doctored videos often have slight inconsistencies. It could be in the audio quality, visual glitches, or even lighting. Listen to this audio carefully.
Johnson Haynes will talk about a drug from the USA.
You will notice that this is computer generated and lacks the natural pauses and rhythms of a human voice. You will notice something irregular at the edge of the head and the background. It is because the image has most likely been superimposed on that background. Another indication that this video is fake. Finally, always check who is posting the video. In this instance, the post is from a group calling itself Citizens for a Healthy Nation. When you click on the link, it tells you they are into advertising and marketing based in South Africa. This should tell you it is not from JoyNews. In another instance, the post is by an individual who describes himself as Paisano. But again, the page is labeled as advertising and marketing with a number that is reported to originate from the Dominican Republic and an 809 area code that has been associated with scams in the past. This is another indication the video is fake and not from JoyNews. Now that is how you spot the fake. So if something feels off, it probably is. Trust your instincts and double check before sharing or acting on any information. Or better still, you can report to the police or the FDA or come to our offices at JoyNews to verify any advertisement.
People before power. We're about
Good evening and welcome to tonight's edition of the Pro-Political Persecution or Legitimate Prosecution. Tonight in focus is a trial of Ghana's minority leader, Dr. Kaysa Latufo-Sing, and two others for counts of causing financial loss to the state over the importation of 30 ambulances as part of a contract between the Ministry of Health and Dubai-based firm Big C Limited in 2012 for the purchase of 200 ambulances in all. Well, the trial took a dramatic turn last week, for which reason it's in focus tonight here on The Probe. It appears that the coming weeks, a lot will be said about this particular trial. It's gone on for 2 years and 5 months. That's where we are in terms of the status of this particular case. We'll get into some details, maybe a bit of background. 3 individuals were dragged to court on December 23, 2021 for allegedly causing financial loss of 2.37 million euros to the state in a deal to purchase 200 ambulances. I've been telling you about it. And this was between 2014 and 2016. Going on, these are the 3 key persons that started off this particular trial. Dr. Kaysa Latufo-Sing, minority leader. He was a former deputy finance minister back then. Then we have Dr. Sylvester Anemana, is a former chief director of the Ministry of Health. Then Richard Jakpa, a businessman who was representing Big C. At some point, Dr. Sylvester Anemana was discharged. So he's not part of the case. Now we have Dr. Kaysa Latufo-Sing and Richard Jakpa, the last man standing in this particular case. 2009, that's when it all started. President John Evans Atta Mills of blessed memory announced the purchase of new ambulances during his State of the Nation address. Then Richard Jakpa, representative of Big C General Trading Limited, approached the Ministry of Health with a proposal. Then, 30th April 2012, Ministry of Finance and Ministry of Health applied for parliamentary approval for the supply of these 200 ambulances at 15.8 million euros. Then there was a memorandum to Parliament, but did not reference the role played by Big C General Trading Limited and terms of procurement. These are the basic facts. We go into in November 19, 2012, Dr. Sylvester Anemana then wrote to the PPA seeking approval to engage Big C through single sourcing. And these are all fact sheets that we are getting from the Attorney General's Department. Then December 19, 2012, the Ministry of Health then finally, formally contracted Big C Trading for the supply of the 200 ambulances. Then fast forward, the 25 vehicles were to be delivered with 120 days of the execution of the agreement. Remaining 175 was ambulances, which was shipped from Dubai on October 22, 2014, arrived. And it did so on December 16, 2014. Then February 12, 2015, the 10 ambulances, we're told, had defects. 20 additional ambulances that were also brought in had defects. So 30 in all had these defects. Now, a total amount of 2.37 million euros were paid for the 30 vehicles, which we are told had defects. Then, January 20, 2016, we had the health minister back then, Alex Segbefia, in a letter told Big C that the vehicles did not meet ambulance specifications. So these are the cases, the issues that have come up with this particular case from the very onset. Now that you have the bigger picture, let's talk about the status of this particular case. So the state has closed this case. We know that Dr. Atuforsen, the first accused, has also closed his case. Second accused, Dr. Sylvester Anemana, we know has been discharged, like I told you earlier. Now, third accused, Richard Jakpa, brings new claims last week, just when we're hoping that the case will be finalized. Richard Jakpa, during the cross-examination, claimed that the AG has been reaching out to him to give testimony that will incriminate Dr. Atuforsen, the minority leader, who is also the first accused. Well, he was very angry in terms, at least we've seen the proceedings in court as was transcribed. And the NDC has been reacting to the claims made by Richard Jakpa. The AG has also denied the allegations. That allegation was made in open court, but the AG did not react or respond in open court or deny the claims that Richard Jakpa made in open court. But subsequently, there's a statement that has been put out by the AG's department claiming that Richard Jakpa rather reached out to his office to engage a plea bargain, but that has not been accepted because it was not put the way it ought to have been put. So these are the issues that have come up. The judge early this year scheduled conclusion by May of this particular matter. The deadline we know has been missed. She has now said the case will not exceed July. But with the sudden turn of events and the bombshells in court, we don't know if that July deadline will also be met. But my guest tonight will be interrogating some of the issues amidst the claims about some leaked tapes and evidence that Richard Jakpa is going to be putting out. The NDC has also mentioned that they will be holding a press conference. There's a talk about a meeting that happened in the Supreme Court Justice's house, amongst others. These and more are issues that are coming out regarding this particular case involving minority leader Dr. Cassiel Atuforsen. Well, my guest tonight, Isaac Wilberforce Mensah, is lawyer, spokesperson to the Office of the Attorney General and Ministry for Justice. I also have via Zoom Samson Ladi Anyenini, is a lawyer, he's host Newsfile and The Law. And joining me in studios is Justice Remsai, is lawyer, senior lecturer, University of Ghana School of Law. We are live on the Joy News channel, on Joy 99.7 FM, on DSTV channel is 421, Go TV is 125, also on myjoyonline.com. Feel free to share your thoughts and your comments with us via our social media platforms. We're on Facebook, we're on X Spaces, and all social media platforms there. You can just hit us with the hashtag, The Probe. I am Emefa Apau, and this is The Probe. Let's get talking right after this quick turnaround. Please do stay with me.
The race for the Jubilee House is beginning. Ghana is at a crossroads. It is time again for the people to choose, and the world is watching. We will do this because in a nation where every vote counts, where every voice matters, there is one name you can trust for your election coverage. JoyNews, your election headquarters. Our team of seasoned journalists will bring you up-to-the-minute updates, unbiased analysis, and the stories behind the headlines. The election headquarters for an informed electorate. JoyNews, independent, fearless, credible.
far amba commander amba ka sem pepe bia me engine ndi asa wa gban leta so many years obado 4 years wa dadain second 4 years also wa dadain ene sisi e don ayetimi a yiri push ya kwakoto abofufuri nti ahwa ambo ebra pepe bia we mani mi nti agiri de emene woboto amo a
almost since 2015 bia oswa up to now obiaba what's bosu meanwhile I'm bosu property since I'm been bodun bosu I am bosu property Ghana property
8 years exactly when this factory was commissioned. But after the commissioning of the factory,
welcome back. You're live here on the Joy News channel on Joy 99.7 FM, and this is The Probe. And tonight we're taking a look at the trial of the minority leader, Dr. Cassel Atuforsen, and Richard Jakpa, this case of the ambulances, and then the twists and turns in this particular case, whether it is indeed a political persecution or legitimate prosecution is what we are looking at. And Samson Ladi Anyenine is with me via Zoom, and Mr. Sremsai, Justice Sremsai, is also in the studios with me. And along the line, we're expecting Wilberforce Isaac Mensah to also join us via Zoom. Mr. Sremsai, thank you so much for joining us here in the studios.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, let me check on Samson as well. Samson is joining us via Zoom. Hello, Samson.
Hello, sir.
Good to see you, Samson. So let's start off, really. I'm hoping that we have a number of lawyers on the show tonight, but you will try and break it down for us and speak normal language so that we can all follow with this. But let's start with the allegations or the outbursts in court last week by Richard Jakpa. Really, are these allegations or outbursts some have described as from a frustrated accused person? Is it something that we should be going with, especially when no evidence was provided in court? At least, as we speak, there's no evidence.
Thank you very much. It is a very disturbing development, and we all need to admit. In respect of what was said in the courtroom, when a person enters the witness box, whatever he says is evidence.
Okay.
It may be subjected to tests to see how solid it is, but whatever he says in the witness box is considered as was evidence. Unless contradicted, it becomes, what the court will work with. So it is not exactly accurate when we say it is not.
So that's because he sworn an oath.
An oath.
Okay.
So that's evidence. So that's the first point. But he definitely would be someone who was frustrated at the time. The cause of frustration is something that we out here cannot point to, but clearly from the record, he appeared to be a bit frustrated. And he actually said it himself. If you look at the record, he said it himself. But the substance of the allegation he made is a serious one, which even for ordinary lawyers, and when I say ordinary lawyers, I mean lawyers who don't hold any high office as that of the Attorney General. If such allegation is made, and further, that it is better to convict, to let 100 guilty people, go, than to convict an innocent person. So the courts are very, very strict and are very interested in the quality of evidence which is brought before them, upon which they will make, conviction or acquittal. Now, the allegations seem to suggest that some pressure was brought to bear on the witness to say something other than the truth, or to say something other than what he would have said if that pressure was not brought, or to bear on him. That is a serious issue in the sense that when a person, whether lawyer or not, tries to, get another person to lie to a court for whatever outcome, there are strict punishment and rules against that. Now, making that allegation against no mere a person than the Attorney General, that is serious. And I think that the Attorney General knows that it's a very serious allegation. That is why when you, after the proceedings, you would see that there has been concerted effort to at least have some say in the matter, even though the records in the court show that much was not said in the court. after the court, I believe the Attorney General acknowledged the severity of the situation and has been taking steps to whittle down the effect or to actually neutralize it. So if you ask me how serious it is, that is how serious it is.
Okay.
It leads to so many things.
But the response in itself is something that would interrogate, the response from the Attorney General, whether it actually speaks to the allegation that was made in court is one of the issues that we'll get to look at. But something, it appears that when Mr. Japa started making the allegation, the judge intervened, asked him to sit down for a bit. He says, "My lady, I'm a little bit uncomfortable," and then was asked, "Why are you uncomfortable?" He says, "I'm angry because how can he accuse me of to be defending A1 when I'm here to fight for my liberty, and he's been impressing on me to cooperate with him so that he can put A1 in jail, and I refuse. So he comes here to accuse me of defending A1. It is unacceptable." He goes on and says, "If he dares me, I'll open the Pandora box here, and I have evidence for that." Really, is it just a frustrated, accused person in court making wild allegations, or there's something actually in there?
Well, whether there is something in there or not, you and I do not have the mystical powers or the divine capacity to be able to tell. We are unable to foretell. Again, the courts do not deal with the metaphysical. They deal with the physical because they do not have the capacity to deal with the metaphysical. So from the record of what happened in court, it appeared very clearly that this is a witness who got frustrated, who got angry, but the pronouncement that proceeded from his mouth in the course of his testimony, and as Justice Shamsai has said, the media gets it wrong when he says, "Oh, he said something without evidence." What he's doing in cross-examination is evidence. The weight of the evidence will be determined by the court itself. Now, when he says the things he says, and as Justice has mentioned, and as I tried to give the education yesterday on Newsfile, when he says the things he says, and they are not about any mere lawyer, but the Attorney General, who doubles as the Minister for Justice, whose office is a constitutional office to start with, and who exercises such wide powers. Criminal prosecution is initiated at a suit. There will be no criminal prosecution in the Republic without the Attorney General, according to our Constitution. So our Constitution actually says all criminal, and in fact, also all civil cases, for as long as they are against the Republic, they will be against the Attorney General. So that is the weight of the office. The Attorney General is on several committees and boards, very sensitive and serious ones. And the Attorney General represents you and I out of this country by virtue of his office on international committees, panels, and to countries in our name. So if such an allegation bordering on crime, as far as sections 213, 212, and 213 of the Criminal and Other Offences Act are concerned, and again, the witness too must be presently aware that if what he's saying is lying on oath, then he could also be caught by section 210 about perjury, which is lying on oath, which is a second-degree felony, which means he could be looking up to 10 years in jail So he may be frustrated, but to say the things he says and considering the consequences of the things he says, I would think that they are serious enough, warranting the attention of the right institutions for what has to be done. If you are even, like Justice says, an ordinary lawyer, the rules or the code of conduct for lawyers is very clear about a number of things. It says in section Rule 13, Rule 13 deals with communication with represented person. That is someone who has a lawyer. The rule says, I quote, a lawyer shall not approach, communicate, or deal with a represented person, that is a person who has a lawyer, on a matter or attempt to negotiate or compromise a matter directly with a represented person. The only exception is that you can do so through or with the consent of the lawyer of that person.
Okay. Well, you can wrap up on that.
I was going further about the law again. In Regulation 40, specifically about the Attorney General and how it works as prosecution. It requires the Attorney General to conduct prosecutions honorably with fairness.
Okay.
And then says, quote, a prosecutor in a criminal case shall refrain from prosecuting a charge that the prosecutor knows is not supported by facts. So if there's an allegation that you are seeking to get someone to give false information or witness, then the suggestion is that you don't believe that you have a case. And if you do not have a case, the regulation says don't go on in the first place. And it proceeds to say that you shall not make, you shall give the other party adequate disclosures and timely.
Okay.
So that even if there is evidence that inures to the benefit of the opposing side, the person you are prosecuting, there is evidence that mitigates or negates the guilt of that person. The law says you should make it available to them.
Okay, but
So
then I will come to this, Samson.
Alleged.
Samson, let me come in briefly on this, because the concern then is this is the Attorney General. He ought to do anything and everything to get to the bottom of a case, for instance. The key question that many ask is, what exactly did the Attorney General do wrong in all this? Because it's coming up in the last few minutes that he was invited to the house or the home of a Supreme Court justice, and then Japa emerged and then raised the issue about his request to the AG. Really, in all this, what did the AG do wrong?
Yes, so let's split the things that the AG has done into two. The one which is an allegation in the courtroom is one. Let's put that as one.
Yeah.
And then what he did after the allegation, after the court proceedings. Now, in respect of the allegation in the court, those are things that, at least on the records, he has not denied them in the court. But we believe that he may be given an opportunity to speak to that. Currently, we don't have any clear procedure for testing something. This is very strange. It's actually something very new in our jurisdiction. We know of what we call mini trial, when someone adduces evidence which police evidence. There is a process called mini trial where we stop the main trial and hold a trial to determine the verity of or the veracity of what the allegation is about.
Yeah.
But we don't have a similar thing for this. So clearly, we have to find a way of resolving this. Now, one of the ways of resolving this would be, and there are different views on this, that the Attorney General may be referred to the disciplinary committee of the General
Which we have heard the NDC say they may do.
Which would be I mean, whereby the committee will hear evidence, will take evidence and give sanctions if they find out to be true. There's another school of thought which suggests, which I belong to, that the Attorney General is not necessarily subject to the disciplinary procedures of the General Legal Counsel, in the sense that because the Attorney General is a constitutional office and the General Legal Counsel itself as a whole is just a statutory body established by Parliament, and secondly, the Attorney General doesn't take licenses. He doesn't practice with a license in the sense in which ordinary lawyers practice. So even the GLC has no specific rules for such.
But he's a lawyer and a leader of the bar.
It's the same as saying that the Chief Justice is a lawyer. So if he does something, you drag him in there. So the fact that he's a lawyer he's not acting in a typical lawyer sense. He's actually a government official who is performing some constitutional rule. So the same regime, I think the same regime may not apply. What then this means is that in terms of such bodies, you have Parliament having oversight because the Attorney General is a part of the executive. And in the broader structure of government, in terms of constitutional law, Parliament has oversight, on the executive branch of government, including what the ministers do. So in that respect, I foresee a possibility of Parliament actually holding the Attorney General and, initiating an inquiry into this proceeding, into this issue, to find constitutional sanctions for the Attorney General, or not necessarily sanctions, but to have a more constitutional inquiry into the matter and ascertaining whether it is true, and if it is true, then sanction will follow. Now let's come to the second set of transactions, that is what happened outside the court.
Yes.
The first thing that came out was a letter which was written on behalf of the Attorney General by his deputy, trying to explain certain things in relation to what happened in court earlier in the day.
And other matters.
Now, I was surprised to see such a letter because every paragraph of that letter further implicates the Attorney General in other things. So if you take paragraph 1, for instance, the letter the press release seemed to suggest that the Attorney General has enough documentary evidence to convict, and that there was no need, so he is so sure that those documentary evidence, those documents the record as he called them, will be able to convict the accused person. Now the problem with such statement, especially coming from the Attorney General, is one, it prejudices the case before the court. Because you are basically saying that I have solid evidence which can convict the person.
And what's wrong with saying I have solid evidence? You have not put the evidence out.
There's absolutely nothing wrong in saying you have solid evidence. But when you are a lawyer and you go out to say such a thing, the code of ethics tells you that don't be making such prejudicial statement. Secondly, when you go through the other paragraphs, you will realize that there is some deliberate attempt from the Attorney General to convince the public that the accused persons are guilty and have been begging him to stop prosecuting them because of their guilt. And what are these things that he pointed to? One, a plea bargaining,
and
discussion.
Yes, followed up with the letters.
Let me take this opportunity to educate the public on plea bargaining. So, plea bargaining simply means that an accused person, could enter into a discussion with the prosecutor. And when you do that, the ultimate effect will be one of these three things. Either the charges are dropped completely, either the charges are reduced in terms of number, or either the charges are reduced in terms of severity. These are the three outcomes. In all this, until a plea bargain agreement is reached and presented to the court, the law says that the accused person is innocent. Now, what the Attorney General did, which is unethical, is to put information out there suggesting that these guys were guilty. That is why they even came to enter into try to have a discussion with me on plea bargaining, which is not the correct statement of the law. And that also further prejudices the accused person, not just in the eyes of the public, but also sometimes in the eyes of the court.
But to the extent that this particular settlement plea was initiated by Big C, which are not parties to this particular case in court, could it also not have any effect on this? Because really, they started it. It's not Jackpad's company that started it. It was Big C. But they are not party to this particular case.
Well, first of all, if they are not party to the case, why did we even entertain them in the first place?
But they went through Jackpad.
Yes, so they went through the Jackpad's lawyers. So when you saw the letters that were released, they went through Jackpad's lawyers to make that proposal, which is which is something that every accused person is entitled to.
Okay.
And if you're entitled to such a facility, the law says you are not guilty by what? Suggesting, plea bargaining. And secondly, the fact that the plea bargain failed itself should tell us that then the matter must go to trial and the accused person is supposed to be what? Innocent until proven guilty. Now, so what that particular thing did was to throw some doubts or to prejudice the case for the defense, and plea bargaining discussions are not supposed to be put before the court because of the capability of those materials to prejudice the court itself.
Okay.
Now, Attorney General found a way of releasing these things into the media. And once they're in the media, chances are that it may get to what? The judge who is presiding. It further worsens the situation that we're trying to what? Prevent. Then on top of all this, another paragraph in the case suggests that the Attorney General actually entertained some conversation where one of the accused persons he recorded one of the accused persons on video, begging him. And that is quite, severe because the Attorney General knows the position of Ghana's law on secret recordings, right? And to openly admit that you did something like that. You did not do it in terms of fighting any crime, but you put it out there to create a narrative that, oh, this person is even guilty, he came to beg me.
Was he not pushed because of the immense pressure that has been brought to bear on the AG? Maybe I would have to bring in something on this as well, on that secret video evidence note that is also in that statement. So Samson, responding to the issue about what exactly the AG did wrong, he was trying to, prosecute a case which most people are now saying is a political persecution. Really, what did he do wrong? Is he not supposed to meet JACPA at all? What exactly? You've been quoting the etiquettes and the code of conduct for your profession. Really, he was not supposed to meet the accused at all? He ought to have done that in the presence of his lawyers?
Because you just mentioned the question of secret recording, I just grabbed my constitution and I'm referring to Article 18. Article 18 says every person has a right to own property, either alone or in association with others. No person shall be subjected to interference with the privacy of his home, property, correspondence, or communication. No person shall be subjected to interference with the privacy of his home, property, correspondence, or communication. That's what Justice Shremsai is stressing to you, that an Attorney General is bound by this Constitution. And guess what? This is found in the Fundamental Human Rights Provision. And in the Fundamental Human Rights Provision, the law opens by saying that persons such as the executive, officers of the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary, and all other organs of government and its agencies, and where applicable to them by all natural and legal persons in Ghana, they are supposed to do what? Uphold these provisions. You are supposed to uphold them. Okay. You cannot be breaching them. There is an exception, though, that if the recording is done in accordance with law, and if it is to serve certain purposes, including for the prevention of crime, then it doesn't matter that you are breaching that right. The law allows you to breach it. But talking about having conversations with the accused person for the purposes of plea bargain, we are getting the context, and the context suggests that the said conversations that the accused person is talking about happened after the attempted settlement broke down. So it will be difficult, if that is true, to prop up a claim that the said conversations or interactions and meetings were intended or in furtherance of a plea negotiation. Now, it is even absolutely wrong to start with. The law says, the plea bargain law is section 162A. That is an amendment we have done to our Criminal and Other Offences Act. This is a very fresh law, 2022, and it was actually spearheaded by the Attorney General himself, a very good thing that he did. I read to you. It says that a person charged with a criminal offense, is Jakpa charged with a criminal offense?
Mm-hmm.
I need an answer. Is he charged with a criminal offense?
Yes, he is. Isn't that what we are looking at right now?
Good. So it says a person charged with a criminal offense may at any time before judgment. We haven't gotten to judgment yet, have we?
No.
Good. May at any time before judgment negotiate with the Attorney General for a plea agreement. But guess what? The law says he cannot do it by himself unless he's not represented by a lawyer. So the law says where the accused person is represented by counsel, the plea negotiation shall means mandatory, shall be between the prosecutor and counsel for the accused person. So on the basis that these allegations are proven to be true, then to start with, this is where the law would be breached. And therefore, the expectation will not be that what is conveyed by this press release or the letter will say that, oh, we were speaking with the person alone and without his lawyer, calling the person on phone alone. And remember what I read to you earlier said, you don't even approach them.
Okay.
You don't approach them. You don't communicate with them.
But Samson, it is emerging in the last few minutes that one of the meetings, so I don't know if there are other meetings, but at least this particular meeting that was held in the Supreme Court Justice's home or house was not at the instance of the Attorney General. At least he was invited to come to that particular, residence, and Jakpa emerged. So how then do we fault the Attorney General in this particular situation?
You are telling me this. I do not intend to fault anybody. I am only linking the situation, situating the story as we have heard, the narrative as we have heard,
so.
with the law, within the law, and to share what the law prohibits and what the law does not prohibit. Now, imagine that whatever the circumstance of the meeting is for the purposes of furthering the plea negotiations. Maybe because there is that allegation of an attempt to ask one person to falsify information or tell falsehood to implicate somebody, there would not be a problem. But if it is proven that at this meeting, the discussion and the content of the discussion was that implicate this person so that we can let you go.
Okay.
It's like what we call the poison fruits. Implicate this person and let you go. We will let you go. Then that will become in the realm of the criminal law, which we are all bound. And in the criminal law, once again, in section 213, it talks about fabrication of evidence. Let me read it to you. It says, whoever fabricates evidence with intent to defeat, obstruct, or pervert the course of justice in any proceedings shall be liable to the same penalties as if he had committed perjury in that proceeding. Perjury is lying under oath, and it attracts, in some circumstances, it can attract the penalty given to someone who has committed murder.
Okay. Well,
But in this circumstance, it's under second-degree felony, which means the sanction will be up to 10 years in jail. So this, if this is what happened, once again, it ought not be the case.
Okay.
Our rules that I was reading to you earlier actually says that if you are the one doing the prosecution and you discover there is some evidence that goes to negate the guilt of the accused person, you should make it available to them. In fact, the law goes ahead to say that if you are done with the prosecution and you find later that the person was found guilty on the basis of some information that was false, some document that was not correct, the law says you should take, as the Attorney General or the prosecution, you should take the immediate steps to get that conviction reversed.
Okay. Let me bring in Mr. Stremsai on this. Really, the concern is also the impact of this particular development on the case going forward is a key issue. At least we've heard the NDC raise concerns. It looks like more like a political persecution rather than a prosecution. What for you will be the impact on this case going forward with all this development coming up? And also don't forget, I've just been telling something about the fact that it's coming up that, in fact, this particular meeting where the recording is emanating from was at the instance of a Supreme Court Justice and not the Attorney General.
So, thank you. The issue about impact, the essence of criminal justice is fairness, absolute fairness. So that even if you are convicted, you would be satisfied within yourself that you have been given all the opportunity to present your case, to cross-examine those who accused you, to test every single evidence. So by the time you are in jail, even you, the accused person or the convict yourself, you should be satisfied that they have given you fair hearing. Clearly, the things we are seeing, and the one you just mentioned, everything is showing that this trial has very little fairness in it. Because, you see, the presence of the Attorney General alone in the case is enough to tilt the scale. Now, we are not just having the Attorney General alone in the case, but all these background meetings, significant persons in society, which the Attorney General himself complained of again in his press release, saying that people have put pressure on him to allow the persons to go free and all that. It all tells you that the case is not, I mean, if you convict these persons with this, that element of fairness will be completely missing. I mean, the Attorney General himself is saying now, with new information, that he has been entrapped, or there was some elements of entrapment in his conversation at the Supreme Court Justice's house, and there were some recordings, and then the accused person is also complaining that he's been forced to say things that he wouldn't have said, and then everything put together is creating a very bad impression, not just of the case, but also even the justice system. And particularly on the Attorney General as an officer of the court. It is really creating a very bad impression on them. And the consequence, the consequence can be in another jurisdiction. In other jurisdiction where rule of law is taken a bit more seriously, in a jurisdiction where criminal justice is respected, the right of the accused is respected. What would have been done immediately was to enter mistrial for the trial to begin again. And then the person who was prosecuting the case, in this case the prosecutor, would be taken off and a new prosecutor brought. Unfortunately, in this situation, the person who is being accused is the one who is holding the whole prosecutorial power. So changing him, you cannot just take him from the case and bring his subordinates to come and conduct the case. What it means is that if you really want, in those jurisdictions, if you really want this particular trial to go on, then you probably would have to make top changes in the Attorney General's department. And in this case, the person who is really in charge must go. We don't know, like I said, this has never happened in our jurisdiction. I'm not aware that these things have happened before. How we handle this is going to define how we respect criminal justice throughout generations to come. And I expect and I know that the institutions of state are capable of ensuring that we have a fair trial for these people. It does not mean that the accused person should be left to go, but it means that some changes in the prosecutorial department of government must happen. Otherwise, then there cannot be progress. Because at the end of the day, like I said, there is no way with all these things you will put someone in jail and the person will have that expected free mind to accept the verdict. Clearly, it is not. It is not something that we can do. And it may, when things like this happen, let's go back to history. When strange things happen in a country and things they've never happened before, what we often do is to set up a commission of inquiry. So if you look at all the commissions of inquiry from May 9 disaster, from all the commissions of inquiry, so it is when things like this happen, which have never happened before, and we want an honest and open conversations about them, and we want a permanent solution to some of these things, we set up a commission of inquiry to have an open conversation. And
that's what you are leaning
towards.
Yeah,
that is what I think should happen under this, because it goes beyond a simple trial of some 2-3 people. It goes deep into the criminal justice system. It goes very deep into the office of the Attorney General. And it goes beyond that. So, and the citizens want something. They want every Ghanaian want to see fairness. Every Ghanaian want to see fairness. So I think we should be looking at a commission of inquiry, or at least a parliamentary inquiry into this.
Okay, to settle issues. Well, let me bring in Isaac Wilberforce-Mensah. He agreed to join much later during the show so he can respond to all the issues that have come up so far. Thank you so much for joining us via Zoom too, Wilberforce. So at least for those hearing or listening to us or talking about this issue for the very first time, the concern or the key question for them is the Attorney General and his representatives were in court when this particular allegation was made by Richard Jakpa. At least he's issued a statement revealing issues about the immense pressure coming to bear on the AG. First off, please, can you tell me where this pressure is coming from? At least he's mentioned Dr. Kaysel Ato forcing himself, and he says he has video evidence. People are asked or pushing for that evidence to be put out. Maybe you tell us when it will be put out. But who else is giving the AG pressure about this particular case?
For now, what I can tell you is that the pressure is indeed coming from all quarters. And before I even move on, I'd like to touch on a few things that have been already said to correct the narrative. First, I'd like to say...
Maybe before you get into it, you can respond also to why there was no defense or, on the allegations that came up in open court. We didn't get the AG's department also deny it in open court.
But in open court, I don't think you expect it to be a fight. Samson is a lawyer. Shrimsai in the studio is also a lawyer. And they both know that it's not as if it's the Attorney General who was cross-examining the third accused person, Richard Jakpa. The Attorney General will have the chance to cross-examine Richard Jakpa. So it is not even tidy for there to be a back and forth in open court, especially when the matters stated by the same third accused person are not even matters in contention in respect of the offense to which he has been charged.
Did he not consider the allegations at the time they were made as so serious an allegation that at least he can make an intervention in court? Because from what my understanding, at least, Richard Jakpa got angry because there was an interjection from the Attorney General.
It's good you are saying Richard Jakpa got angry. So I don't know if you're expecting the learned Attorney General with all his experience to also respond in an angry manner or to be calm and then respond at the appropriate time. He will have the chance to cross-examine Richard Jakpa. And if he finds it important, remember, the people or the two persons on trial are being charged, especially for causing or willfully causing financial loss to the state. A meeting that happened several years later has absolutely no bearing on an offense that prosecution has established and was supposed to establish that the offense was committed several years past. So that's something, and I'm very certain that if Samson was the Attorney General in that instance, I doubt he would do a back and forth, especially knowing that he would have the chance at the next session or the next two sessions to cross-examine the person. When you find it necessary to cross-examine on that particular...
Are you Are you under the impression that that is my view, that the Attorney General should have said in court?
I'm under the impression that you are aware that it would have been very untidy if a back and forth had gone on, especially knowing that you would have the chance. You would have the chance
to me. The reference
to me. Let's just say.
I'm telling you, get this clear.
Any lawyer.
Listen to me. Listen to me.
This is my time. If you are saying that.
No, listen to me. Listen to me for a minute. You have been mentioning my name.
It's fine. It's fine. You've been talking for 45 minutes. Allow the shows.
Even if I've been talking for an hour,
allow the Attorney General to also give.
Can you listen to me?
Allow the Attorney General to also make their position on this. I think it's my time.
Something, please let Wilberforce complete that.
I've removed your name. I'm mentioning the name of another lawyer.
No, I need to say this. Unless you want to obfuscate what is happening. Listen to me.
Samson,
I don't think you want
Samson,
to be a
please, let's do this one at a time.
I have not said
to explain what has happened.
I have not said anywhere that the Attorney General
that's fine. Let's
have answered in the court. I know well and better enough that there was somebody under cross-examination and there was no opportunity for the Attorney General to reply the person under cross-examination. So stop making imputations if you haven't heard me say anything to that effect.
Okay.
I know well enough.
If you listen to me, you know that what you just said is exactly what
please go on. Please go on with the point you're making about this. So you've mentioned that the AG wants to take his turn another time. Wilberforce, you're trying to address other issues.
One thing I want to say, and even though this little back and forth, and something I still respect you a lot, I must say, especially because in Samson's submissions, Samson always made his submissions conditional. If indeed
Wilberforce, please, I have asked you specific questions. If you could stop
and I've answered your
making reference to something, I've asked you specific
addressed.
questions that you have not responded to, but it appears that you keep on, directing it to Samson. Please. Let's speak to the issues.
To something. I'm directing it to a matter that was said, and I'm only making reference to the person who said the matter. Unless I'm not supposed to make reference to the person.
Samson did not say that the Attorney General should have responded in court, at least not on this show. Okay.
I have even moved away from that.
That's fine.
Unless I'm not allowed to talk again.
You are, please.
Very good. So what I'm saying is that in Samson's submissions, because he was the one who made those submissions, and this statement I'm making is not to criticize Samson, but to rather applaud him, to say that in making his submissions, he made everything conditional, that if the Attorney General asked the third accused person to fabricate evidence, then there's a problem. If the Attorney General did this, and I think that's the position that everybody ought to take in this regard. Mm-hmm. Now, the Attorney General has stated emphatically that he has not at any point asked the third accused person to fabricate evidence. So if there is any such proof under 213, as Samson has been graciously provided, if there's any such proof of fabrication of evidence that in the said recording, which they say they have evidence of, if in the said recording it comes out that you should go and fabricate evidence, whether it's said directly or indirectly, then the conversation is a different conversation. But the Attorney General in this instance has emphatically denied same. And I'm saying on authority that what the Attorney General told Mr. Jakpa was that speak the truth. Speak the truth. When we go there, speak the truth when we go to court. If I ask you, for instance, if I ask you a question on this particular document, speak the truth. Don't try to be
So please, if I could come in on this particular conversation that the AG had with Jakpa, telling him to speak the truth. Was this conversation had in the presence of Mr. Jakpa's lawyer, you would say? This meeting that you talk about.
Very good. That's a very good question too. And I'm glad also that in making or in commenting on that, it was said by learned counsel that if indeed there was such a meeting without the lawyer, a person who is not legally represented, or a person who is legally represented, and without his lawyer present, then that also raises question marks.
So I asked specifically, was he there? Specifically, I'm asking you specifically.
Let me correct the narrative. Mm-hmm. At the material time, at the material time that these meetings took place, or this meeting took place, Mr. Jakpa was not represented by counsel. Now,
Why?
If you look at Act 1079, a person, an attorney general or prosecution can do these plea negotiations either with the attorney general either with the accused person or his counsel. Now, this particular accused person, in the course of this trial, has changed lawyers about 4 times. This particular accused person started with, I think the lawyer on record initially was Randolph Tumisi, and then moved on to, I think, one Kosa also.
But I'm not sure there was any point in time that he did not have representation, for which reason a meeting will be held with him in the absence of these lawyers.
MFA, you are assuming. There's been a lot of assumptions that have been thrown out
But
there.
at least we've all followed this case. It's a public case. There is no point that Mr. Jakpa was not represented.
MFA, if you allow me to talk,
But you need to give us answers, Wilberforce. You need to give us answers.
If I'm giving the answer and you are talking, how do you get the answer? Let the people benefit from this, please.
Okay, respond.
So what I'm saying is that if you had followed this case, you would realize that even when he was asked to open his defense, he did not have a lawyer. He started giving oral testimony on his defense. So there were several instances where he did not have a lawyer.
Okay.
There were several instances when he did not come to court. There was not even a lawyer in court representing him. And these are all matters on record. So at the time the incident happened, he did not have a lawyer. When the plea negotiations started with the learned counsel, Thomas Obin, the Attorney General was negotiating with Thomas Obin. You can see from the correspondences that are out there, and the correspondences out there, or the letters that we see out there between the two parties. And I repeat, with the greatest respect, Mr. Srimsai, it is not the Attorney General who released those letters. So let's not make certain emphatic statements, for instance, that the AG has released those letters and that the AG has never, and also that the AG has said that people are guilty, which are prejudicial comments. He has never said that. He said he has closed his case. Now let's move on. At the time when these negotiations started, the Attorney General was negotiating with the lawyer, Thomas Obin, in this regard. As the negotiations continued, the accused person has fired or had fired the lawyer at the time.
Okay, so at the time this meeting happened, he didn't have a lawyer. That's what you're saying. We are really out of time. We're running out on this. That's why I'm asking the specific questions so we can get specific answers. So this 6 weeks ago meeting that was held at the Supreme Court Justice's home also, at that time, Jakpa didn't have a lawyer.
That's what we are saying. So therefore, it was a bit more reassuring for the Attorney General to know that there's a Supreme Court Justice who is a relative to the accused person. So his presence, of course, would be in the best interest of the accused person. This is not Sebio Hisebu-Champagne. This is a justice of the Supreme Court. So when the Supreme Court Justice invites the Attorney General to come over, and in that said meeting, Richard Jakpa shows up, and then the conversation continues in respect of the plea negotiations, then I don't think the Attorney General has done anything wrong, especially as I pointed out, that at all material times that they met, the third accused person was not represented by counsel. MFA, you are a very good friend, and I'm sorry if I've sounded a bit, and apologies to you, Samson, as well. But because of the time, I need to put this information across because there's a lot of misinformation out there.
Okay.
So the Attorney General, at the times he met the accused person at the house of the Supreme Court Justice, at the instance of the accused person, the accused person was not represented by counsel. Okay. And even subsequent to that, when the accused person was represented eventually by counsel, counsel in this particular instance has even had discussions with the Attorney General. So these matters are being completely twisted out there. And the issue of fabrication of evidence...
So the Attorney General insists he did no wrong in this particular matter, even though you admit that all these meetings were held in the absence of Richard Jakpa's lawyer, or you insist that he didn't have representation, for which reason these meetings were held. He talked about video evidence...
I just want to add, sorry, before you go on, respectfully, I just want to add that if you read exactly what I was in court that day, and I heard exactly what the accused person said, Richard Jakpa said, at no point did Mr. Jakpa use the word fabrication of evidence. The word fabrication came in, or the issue of falsifying evidence came in outside the court when the director for communications for the NDC had a press conference and brought in words about fabrication and all, or brought in things about fabrication. It was never mentioned by...
But at least he mentioned that he's being forced to open the Pandora's box. Did that come up?
Yes, that came up, but that's not fabrication. Okay. What he said was that you have asked me to, in a nutshell, to testify against or to say things that will implicate first accused person. And what we are saying is that the Attorney General asked him to say the truth. The Attorney General presented him, look, this is the evidence that we have against you, and this evidence is already on record. This evidence has already been tendered. Remember, we've already closed that case. So the evidence is already before the court. So that's all the Attorney General did.
So all he told him was to just to say the truth. That's what he told him.
Truth. If I ask you this question, don't be clever about it. Okay. Don't be coy. Don't be cunning. Just speak the truth. If I ask you this question, this is what you say. You say the truth. That's all.
Okay, so I'm sure that it's come to the public notice that indeed there's a recording. At least the AG also put in his statement that he has video evidence of the minority leader pleading for an end to this particular case. On the other hand, also we're hearing about a tape, at least an 18-minute tape or so, involving the Attorney General when he was actually asking Jakpa to do the things that he does. Is this really, this video evidence that we talk about, is there a point in time that the general public will have, a feel of it or get to put it out in the general public? Is that going to happen?
Or if it becomes necessary, it will come out. But as far as the Attorney General is concerned, he is focusing on his mandate.
But you've heard the lawyers, at least, they've quoted the law. There's Article 18 of the Constitution, amongst others.
Very well.
For which reason this particular recording was done? Was it for a prevention of crime? What was the circumstances under which this recording was done? Secretly on the blind side of Dr. Atufosi.
It's painful that you're also using the word secretly.
Okay, it wasn't secret.
No, but it's not a secret.
No, I'm talking about the recording. The recording. Mr. Atufosi knew that the video recording was being done.
The only secret recording we know is the recording by the third accused person.
So Atufosi is aware about this recording. So Atufosi is aware about this recording, Mr. Mensah.
If there's a for instance, if you go to a hotel and there's a recording of you at the hotel in a public place, that's a secret recording.
Okay.
You don't assume that every recording that you are unaware of, that you are being recorded, is a secret recording. So I'm saying emphatically, I'm not going to give more facts about this, but I can assure you 100% that it is not a secret recording. So Article 18 is definitely inapplicable.
Well, but is the AG concerned about the turn of events in terms of the public opinion about this particular issue? It turns out that it looks like it's a political persecution, much more than a prosecution. How does he respond to that? I'll be coming to you, Samson and Stremsai, so that we can wrap up on this.
Just a quick question to Wilberforce. Is he saying that there's a recording that was done with the consent of the person who was recorded?
I asked that, but I didn't get a response to that.
No, what I said is that it's not as what you want to find out is if it's a secret recording.
So I asked you if Dr. Atufosi is aware about this recording. When you go to a hotel, they write it there. There are CCTV cameras here. Whatever you do is being recorded. That's why I'm asking if Dr. Atufosi is aware that this particular recording was taking place.
Whether he's aware or not, I'm not in his mind. I didn't see what he was seeing at the time, so I won't be able to say whether he was aware or not. But what I can say, based on what I know, is that it is not a secret recording. That I can assure you.
If he's not informed beforehand, if he's not put on notice, then you are talking about a secret recording. A recording that breaches his privacy, except it is for the exceptions provided under law.
And I'm telling you something, that things are not always black and white, especially in this regard. Whether or not he was aware, one would say that he ought to have known based on, as for instance, maybe where he was. But what I'm telling you is that it's not a secret recording. The Attorney General is aware of the law, as we all are, and would not record anybody without their express or implied consent.
Okay, so I was asking before I go to my guest so that we can wrap up on this about the AG and whether he's concerned. Because I'm saying let's wrap this up nicely. So whether the AG is actually concerned about the public opinion and the turn of events when it comes to this particular issue, that it's a political persecution rather than a legitimate prosecution.
Okay, so the AG is actually, to be very honest with you, I've interacted with him. I've been to his office several times, and his focus is, you go to his office, he's working. As I'm speaking to you right now, he's still at the office. He's working. His focus is on delivering his mandate as best as possible under Article 88 of the Constitution. So this issue, especially one that does not in any way touch, even remotely, the substance of the matter in court. The fact that documentary evidence has been provided in court, the fact that a case has been established to which the court has asked the accused persons to open their defense, I don't think these are matters that should bother him at all.
Okay. Mr. Shemsai, you have an intervention.
I am particularly, it's interesting because it appears the AG spokesperson, my very good friend, is focusing on the substance of the matter. The substance of the matter, the man has committed a crime 5 years ago or 10 years ago, long before this AG. But that is exactly to move away from the point. Criminal trial is about procedure. It is about fairness. So it is not even about whether you did the thing or not, but the court process must find you to have done the thing. That is why if you go and arrest someone and you don't even do the arrest well, they could nullify the whole trial. So to make it seem that we are just interested in the substance, criminal law is more procedure than any substance. If you have committed a crime, the process will determine. So, and I would not be happy if I were an accused person, or I would not be happy if I was a lawyer. Yeah. And in my trial, you have all these things going on. And you see, the impression is created as if Mr. Japa said only one thing.
And he says there's more.
Most of the things relating to this trial came from the AG statement. This video issue we are talking about, the begging from people, and all the things that we are even talking about came from the AG's own press release. So to make it look as if AG did nothing and it's only Mr. Japa, and since Mr. Japa has not provided further evidence, we should disregard it, is to try to misconstrue the whole thing. Nobody would have been more concerned if the AG didn't say, for example, that he has a video recording of someone. I mean, who would know that he's being recorded and then will sit down and be begging, please forgive me, let this matter. It is the context of the video recording provided by the Attorney General doesn't show that the person is referring to is aware of the recording. Yeah. And secondly, the Attorney General says people have been coming to put pressure on him. This is Ghana, okay? We have so many, anywhere you are, whether you are a cleaner in an office or you are a food vendor, people will come and beg you to bend the rules. Why is it that it's only this Attorney General? As far as my law practice is concerned, I have never witnessed any Attorney General coming publicly to complain that people are putting pressure on him. And that tells you, see, the motive behind that press statement is to create an impression that these guys are guilty and they are just trying to find a way of escaping justice. Basically, that's what the statement does. Everything in this statement is to the point that they are guilty, and they are trying to, and I will show you, look, they've come to me to beg, they've done this, they've done this. That is basically what this statement is doing. And this is unfair as far as criminal justice is concerned, or any proper criminal procedure. These things cannot happen, and you will tell me that let's go to the substance.
Okay. Well, something in wrapping up with you on this as well.
I would like Wilberforce to think about it more carefully, that some of the confirmations that he makes, yes, they may not be about the substance towards the recovery or the prosecution to secure conviction over the 2.4 million euros. Is that what we understand? The 30 ambulances that were said to be, just bare buses fitted with kitchen panels is concerned. But the confirmations make the issues murkier and make it even important for those of us who are seeking to give education to the populace that there's a need to go into the matters. His confirmations suggest that the accused person did not just say things that are not true. There will therefore be the need for the purposes of, in the interest of all the parties, in the interest of the Office of the Attorney General and justice delivery, that these matters are gone into thoroughly. And so in the end, we know, who has done something wrong, who has not done something wrong, who faces what consequences, and who doesn't face what consequence. It will be very important going forward.
You welcome a call, for instance, for a further probe into this matter, Wilberforce. I would like to find out, and whilst the AG gets his day in court, for instance, does he consider that he's been defamed, and is he going to take any action? So 2 issues. Maybe you tackle the issue about whether he considers being defamed in this particular matter, whilst we wait to have him also cross-examine Japa. First off.
Well, that's his choice to make, or that's a route for him to take. Whether
that hasn't come up yet, has it?
Whether or not he's going to follow the path of chasing a defamatory issue. Remember, he's also the Minister for Justice, or a presidential appointee. So as to the sort of things that have been said about him, the sort of words that have been used against him in previous times, I mean, if he has not reacted to any of these, why would he react to a person saying that you met me, or you asked me to implicate another person who's also accused, when same is lawful under Act 1079? I don't think these are serious matters.
They are not serious matters when it actually borders on his professional conduct. It's not
if
serious.
If it's to chase everybody who's made certain harsh statements about him, I think he'll be chasing quite a few people around. But like I said, his focus is on delivering the mandate given to him, to his mandate, serving the people of Ghana as best as he can in his role as Attorney General of the Republic of Ghana.
And do you lean towards a further probe into this particular matter, knowing that it looks like there's more than what meets the eye?
Whatever comes out subsequently would go to, I mean, of course, he's an open book. The Attorney General is an open book. Whatever comes out subsequently would actually go to the disbenefit of the accused persons in this matter. Remember that these meetings were had in the house of a Supreme Court judge who is a relative to the same accused person, who was trying to help the same accused person. This same accused person went to his own relative's house with a recorder to record a conversation that was to his own benefit, twisted the narrative, comes to court to throw tantrums, and we are where we are. So a further probe, well, the Attorney General is an open book. So anything that comes up from such a probe is actually going to go to his own disbenefit.
Okay. By the way, how many meetings did he have with Mr. Japa? How many meetings are there?
I can't say for certain how many. I can't say for certain, but what I can say for certain is that the Attorney General at no point in time met Mr. Japa at any other place aside his own relative's house, which is the Justice of the Supreme Court, at the instance of the same Mr. Japa.
Okay, I'm tempted to ask which Supreme Court justice is this, but I'm sure you would not tell me. So I'll leave it here for now, or you tell me.
The Ariba number you have dialed cannot be reached at the moment.
Wilberforce, I'll leave it here. That's Isaac Wilberforce Bensa. He's a lawyer, spokesperson to the Office of the Attorney General and Ministry for Justice. We also had Samson Ladi Anyanini, his lawyer, host Newsfile in the law, and Justice Shremsai, his lawyer, senior lecturer, University of Ghana School of Law. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time here on The Probe. There's more when you log on to myjoyonline.com. Interesting week ahead. Do stay with us here on our JoyNews channel. I am Emefa Apau, and this has been The Probe.
Hello Ghana, I'm Esther Gidu-Yuat of VOA's News and Current Affairs program, VOA's Africa 54. here for you on Joy News. If you want to know what's trending in Africa's news, business and technology, sport, health, and lifestyle, then tune into VOA's Africa 54 for a closer look at the stories Africans are talking about around the continent. We'll bring you reports from our VOA correspondents as well as interviews with top experts and analysts. For the young and the young at heart, VOA's Africa 54 also includes Africa's best music, fashion, and entertainment. Be sure to tune in to VOA's Africa 54 right here on Joy News.
Another moment to delve into the lives of our favorite celebrities and glean insights from their day-to-day businesses is here. And I welcome you to Celebis with all the warmth and joy. My name, as always, is Amele Josu, aka Samniwa. And my guest today, I call him a brother, but hey, he's that special to me. You may know him for many reasons, but look, he is the footstool bearer of Ojoman Kumanyankupong, the writer Ken who sips communion wine from the calabash. He's that hot metal that has been hammered on the anvils of time. He's the gossip who's carried by the four winds over the 70s. I'm talking about none other. I mean, you wonder, who is that making me wax all poetic and lyrical? Yeah, I'm talking about none other than the nephew of Omama Kwejebi, Philip Boachidioyinka, popularly known as Nana Asaase, is my guest today. Nana.
Yes, my dear.
Good to see you.
It's so good to have you here.
Man,
so good to see you.
Was it trying to, get all that to committing all that to memory is not easy.
Thank you very much.
But it's always a vibe hanging out with you. I always look forward to that.
Thank you so much. It makes you appreciate what you do so much.
I know, right? It's not a joke. It's not a joke at all, but for those of us who may, I know you beyond poetry, but for some, they believe that all the...
So, beyond poetry, I do poetry. Poetry has become a tool to do so many other things.
Okay.
I have this agency background coming from PR, advertising, marketing, all of that. Good. When I'm not doing poetry, sometimes I get the chance to shoot documentaries for those who would like us to do this. I do voiceovers, we do subtitling, we do localization of content, we proofread, we edit, I teach. I teach literature, I teach English, I teach Chi. I teach indigenous knowledge. When I'm not doing any of these things, I run a cultural consultancy. So as a cultural consultant, what do? People want to learn indigenous knowledge. We go into storytelling, we take our time and do research for people. We script cultural concepts to be embedded in events, or sometimes we handle the whole cultural aspect of an event. So you are having a conference for a multinational group, so you're receiving people from different parts of the world. How do we give them a Ghana treat? How do we give them a cultural immersion? Get in touch with us. We will let you know how to put these packages together. When I'm not doing all of that, I run a network of cultural troops. Yeah. When I'm not doing any of that, if you're looking for the best smokes, get in touch with me. If you want to find the best ahinema, get in touch with me. By virtue of being in the cultural space, I have my hands in
all these things.
I know where to find, the best of these things. You're looking for carvings, get in touch. We know where to find the best of these things by virtue of the practice. So when I'm not doing poetry, I'm still doing poetry. I have been Ochiame for a lot of people's marriages. I've been linguist for, a lot of these things. I've conducted naming ceremonies for experts who are coming in. These are all things that we do that a lot of people might not know. I've emceed events. I still MC events. People might not know these things. So when I'm not on stage, these are some of the things that I do. And of course, if somebody wants to learn the craft of poetry itself,
you're willing to teach?
I'm glad. I do. I teach this. I organize creative writer workshops. When I'm not here, sometimes you're invited to other countries to facilitate workshops or be part of a festival, performance or consultation, research. Sometimes we have influence policy, because when I'm not into my regular 8 to 5, I'm the secretary of Ghana's National Folklore Board. Yeah.
Okay.
So on that bit as well, I'm part of the technical team for Ghana UNESCO collaboration on intangible cultural heritage. So I do a lot in the cultural space.
Juggling so many roles.
A lot of work.
I mean, how many languages do you speak?
I speak the Akans. I speak Chi. I speak Fanti. I speak Equiapim. I mean Asante Chi, Fanti, Asante. A bit of French. I speak English and a lot of Pidgin.
Okay. A lot of Pidgin.
A lot of Pidgin.
On top of that, impeccable English.
Oh, Charlie.
I thought of asking because of the part you play when it comes to engagement ceremonies and marriage, because you have to be
definitely
quite versatile with
these
languages.
One key thing is, anytime you're facing an audience that does not speak all of the languages that you speak, find out who's going to be there. So there's something I teach my students, I call audience research. So before I show up at your event, I need to know who and who would be there.
Yeah.
So that I'll be politically correct, culturally correct, whichever way, I need to be correct.
You tick all the boxes.
So if there's a Frenchman in there and I get in with my bonjours and all of that, if there's Spanish,
just to break the ice.
Just to break the ice. Because when you speak a man's language, you're speaking to his soul. They are comfortable with you. Everything else you say will go in. Just because you spoke a line of his language, it makes them feel at ease. Yeah. So you need to do your audience research.
I know you've been doing this poetry thing for more than a decade.
Yeah.
Before that, you had a regular job you were doing, the corporate side, which was, I think, PR, right? Yes. So just to ask, what was that moment that made you reconsider your choices and decide that, no, I want to do poetry, let me start my own thing on the side? Wow. All the jobs you listed, they fall under Asaase Inscriptions, right? That's your company. So what was that moment that made you decide to go into your own thing and start your own business?
Okay. So it didn't start with wanting to start my own business.
Okay.
It started with me resigning, not knowing where I was going. I felt poetry was calling me to go do something. You know the devotion of a newfound lover, the way it goes, waxing so strong, a new devotee, with gestures and all of that. For some people, it dies with time. For others, it threatens to improve with time. Mine hasn't died. So 11 years ago, this is my 11th year full time. I stepped out of agency. I felt the edge so strong because we do our regular 8 to 5. Our employers do their best to make sure that we're living that. Otherwise, you realize you're in a loop.
Yeah.
You're in a loop. At a point, it gets boring. As a creative, you feel underutilized because you feel there's so much more
you can do.
That you can do. You want a bit more of the outdoor. You want to be talking to people, engaging people, inquiring, because you're curious by nature.
Yeah.
Right. And I realized that PR was great. That environment was great. Let me give credit to Global Media Alliance for giving me that platform, that space to work, in the team. It also brought out my strength, with my creative work, writing, performing, and all of these. There was one month, we had gone deep into the month, and sometimes agencies delay, Charlie, we've not been paid, everybody is. At the time, I think my boss was on leave. I was the only guy in the PR team. There were 4 ladies. I was the only one stuck in there, and that was when I had some of, very reflective moments. I started thinking, because when I'm writing minutes, I'm writing poetry and cutting it out. I'm writing a press release and I plug in, say, Mariam Akiba's Pata Pata, and, I'm working, and I realize my art is even getting, right there in the front of my work. And so one day, Mr. Edward Boateng, Ambassador Edward Boateng, God bless him, Ghana's former ambassador to China, he was my boss. He called me. I don't know what, he just walked into the general pool and called me out. So we went to sit in the boardroom. I was like, Philip, you see, whichever field you choose to enter, there's something called doing time. After you have done time, it turns around to pay you. That was what, he told me. I don't know where he got there to just call me out.
You and tell you that.
We just spent time, and I was with him. And I kept that, at the back of my head. Right. So there was an event where the occasion was supposed to be. I was an environmentalist event. So I got the invitation. So I decided I was going to go at break time. I had exactly an hour's break time to drive from Jowood, get to Labadi, I was at the Trade Fair Center, deliver and come back to the office. That's how I was going to spend my break.
Yeah.
So I was going to fast that afternoon. I was like, okay, for a lot of media houses, by virtue of working with the Media Alliance, I was like, God, if you're really bringing me this gig, don't let any of my outlets come and cover this. Because it had its own implications. Look, so I went for this performance. I think that was the second time I met Ochi.
Okay.
Delivered, hands down. I got paid. Let me say it here today. Charlie, look, that gig paid me about 3 times what my
regular job was paying.
Would have done. So I came back to the office. True to that prayer, none of my outlets came to cover. So I sat down and I realized, okay.
That was a sign.
Look, if I give my art that attention, it could become my mainstay.
Yeah.
Coupled with what my boss, and mentor had told me, that the two started coming together. So long hours of being at home, spending meditation time, literally, Sarah, I could look onto any wall, any blank space, and see writings on the wall that you will not see, or hear things you won't hear, because my senses are open to receive, from the divine for the things that I do.
It's a calling, sort of.
It is. Yeah. So I felt that moment of being at home not working was preparation for me, because whatever call you're called to, just like Ambassador Boateng said, it's a tough call. Doing time is tough. Marking time is tough. Being a recruit is tough. Till you become an officer. Till you finally pass out, and then you feel proud. Wow, I've given myself to a discipline, and now it's paying off. So that was it for me. And so when I started performances, I was with Fapimpong again. We didn't have a car. We had been invited to an event. I won't mention the client's event. We were supposed to perform 2 slots. Car traffic wahala. We got in and our first slot was gone. So second slot.
You just have to kill it.
And unknowing to us, my man had told himself, I will never give these people an opportunity again.
Wow.
Because apparently it cost him a lot with the client. But after a while, he called me one day. He said, sit down. Can I tell you something? Do not self-destruct because of things you have control over. I said, okay. So I have control over the time that I can get to an event. I can get there early. So I made the personal practice now. When I'm coming for your event, Charlie, I'm there ahead of time. Or my team is there. Once my team is there, it simply means we're here. So these were some of the precepts that shaped our service culture, or my service culture, or my performance culture as a person. I respect people. I work with these cultural truths, for instance. You go for events. One of the major challenges I face half the time when I'm working with event organizers, I'm like, my people, musicians are artists. These drummers are artists. Poets are artists. You want to bring a musician to an event, so you give him a VIP holding area. Fantastic. But you bring these drummers, maybe I'm bringing you 7 or 8 mature people, and you want them to change in a washroom, a corridor, or some dusty office. Please, we are sorry. We won't do it.
I mean, just touch on an issue. I mean, I had in mind to, ask about that. The whole disrespect that some creatives have complained about.
Very disrespectful. We can't bring our changing room from our office or from our house to the event. So it's only proper that you've contacted us to do something for you. Half the time, these musicians will mime or give you content that they've replicated so many times, but we're bringing you live, fresh content. Half the time we're opening your show. If it drops, what happens? The energy of the show drops. 3, they only come to cover the big man's speech when the media shows up. They don't even cover the art that lightens up the event. So the little you can do for us is to show some respect.
And treat them right,
See, listen to the intricate rhythms that we play for Kitty. We have about 2 or 3 variations of Kitty. The intricacies of those rhythms. If you're not smart, you can't play those rhythms.
I think that brings us to
Give me a physics professor. Give me a mathematics professor. Give me anybody who says artists are daft. Let's give him a simple test. He won't play. He'll just be playing bells. Just bells. Sorry, as people say, just bells. And let's see how he fares. You see, everything is important. So at the Rokufi, the bell is like the foundations you build or the principles you hold on to in life. So all the music is life, all the troop, everything we do is life. So it's a bell that keeps us in check and order. When you walk, you need coordination. That is what the bell offers to you. You see, so these are people who really carry a big part of our culture. When we receive visitors from the whole world, what do? We call these people to come play for us. Yet we do not respect them. Yeah. So I really cherish people. There are people who have worked with me for as long as 11 years. When you ask them, maybe you should ask them. I won't say it. And it's just because of the relationship that we have built. And we have. I have very good relationship with my former employers. You know, all these names I called are people I can go to, or you can go to cross-check. You know, having worked with them, and they have really impacted me. So I'm really grateful to all these people who have given me that opportunity, you know, to get to this point. There are people who can give you honest feedback. Sir, this was not good. The way you spoke was off. Next time, check the costume or the music or this. Not just people who want to deride what you're doing. Constructive criticism. If you're not ready for criticism, you shouldn't be doing the things you do. You know, definitely there are people who have gone ahead of you who should offer advice, who can offer advice to you. So it's important that while you work, you should have people who have gone ahead. Call them mentors, people you can defer to, call them fathers
guide you
and mothers. You know, this morning I was blessed to have 2 of my mothers visit me, you know, and they come to share meaningful insights with you. Always make sure you have these people. In the poem Song of the Twin Brother, Professor Kofi Anido, who wrote to the late Professor Awono, he says, Achue, Achue, do not forget the back, without which there is no front. End of my story.
Before we delve into Asaase inscriptions and all that you do, I mean, you touched on the whole issue between the arts and sciences, the disrespect and everything. You talked about how you insist on getting things right for all the people you work with. Some have blamed creatives for that treatment that's meted out to them. Talking about the fact that we don't package, or let me say, carry ourselves in that light to be respected. Do you also believe same? And what can be done to change this perception in society that mostly says, oh, probably creatives are not serious people, they like joking, you can't take them serious, they don't deserve a huge remuneration and the likes?
Okay. Sarah, when you're receiving heads of state from different parts of the world, and we are playing the Phantom from, do we look like funny people?
No.
And the dancers are moving their limbs. Do they look like people who do not know what they are doing?
No.
Thank you. And so in every group, you would have a leader, right? So when I work with my group, at that point, you would meet me. I might be the interface, or somebody else might be there. I feel not all these people, you know, especially in the cultural performance space, might have had the privilege of too much formal education or have access to some of the spaces that people who look down on them might have had. Do you get my point? But they have something you do not have. They have that power of creativity, which is given to them. Do you get my point? I would encourage my people. I always encourage my people. Let's put ourselves together in a very organized manner. Let us have leadership. So that I need you for an event. How much will you take? Let's have somebody who does that interfacing, who understands the language of customers, you know, who can do that for us.
More like having business people to front.
Have business people to do these things for you. I think it makes people take you a bit more seriously. You have your videos that you can show to clients and say, look, we have done these things. We have pictures. We have this event. We have that event in a more organized manner. 3, openini bu baby chairman. Oh, you're looking gorgeous. Let that outfit be ripped by a nail. Immediately you realize that the wearer's confidence dips. Nobody lives in these plush hotels. We all we go to work in these fancy office buildings, yet we go home. And so aside everything we do, we also go home to families. Just like everybody else goes home to families. So if your family deserves something that is good, our families deserve things that are good too. If you deserve anything that is good, the other person deserves what is good. Manager, if your cleaner does not come to the office to clean that space, it will not look good enough for you to come and use. You'd be spending productive office hours having to come and do that in addition to all the work that you do that you consider more important than getting the washroom cleaned. Yet when you are distressed and you walk into the washroom and it's not in good shape, what do? So think about it.
Yeah.
You know, and so I feel our people should just realize this is their calling. If it was not important, why do you go call them? Yeah, you think you can just take them for it because it's just. If it's just, I've told some clients, I'm like, Chief, Sebi, they talk 30, make I talk 40. Sebi 40, do them, then keep your money.
Yeah.
With all respect, do it and keep your money. If it's really about the money, we love the things we do. That is why we do it. Do you see the expression when these arts are being expressed? Do you get my point? So I feel it's just a thing of respect and understanding. Sometimes we do not understand the things we do. Every single rhythm has a meaning. Every single drum stroke, every single bell stroke, every single motion, movement, expression has a meaning.
Yeah.
Do you get my point? If it was not nice, why would we want to place it as a front line, the first thing that any visitor coming in sees? And so let us show that value, some respect. I feel when we do that, it will go a long way to serve us. Let me give you a nice example. We buy carvings, we buy paintings, we buy kente strips and give them to visitors because if you always speak so well of Ghana, so you cherish the product, what of the person who produces it? How much value do you place
on that person? Yeah.
Because without this person, you're not receiving that thing that you really gloat over, and you might not even know how it was made. Do you get me?
Yeah.
So I feel it's just us. Everything us is just downplayed. How should a person carry themselves? I know that you want the person to carry themselves in a very Western formal way.
As they say, bougie.
Thank you very much. In a Western formal way. That might not be exactly what you get. Let me give you a nice example. I've usually had this experience. I like to walk into events dressed with maybe my tee and my shorts. I want to see where my drum is placed, where this run my
doing
sound
that
check.
recce before
when I'm done,
you settle.
I change. So you meet people, maybe service providers, somebody's a waiter passing with a drink or something. You ask courteously, you get a very off expression. I'm like, okay, guys, give me 7 minutes. So I go in, I change, and I enter the scene. Oh, Nana.
The demeanor changes. Yeah.
You see, so we like to give recognition to plastic things. Not to say that if somebody has affluence, it's necessarily plastic.
Yeah.
But somebody can also put up that front just so you will give them whatever kind of treatment because you want to place them above you because they are dressed a certain kind of way or they are placed a certain kind of way or do a certain kind of job. When you go to a restaurant, who waits on you?
Yeah.
And you think that person is not important. What did they just bring? Food, sustenance, life. And so it's just us. Let's just show love. Let's just show respect.
We should be tolerant of each other
Trust me.
and treat others as we would want to.
Of respect. Do you get my point?
Yeah.
So in my own small way, when business is coming, I prospect for business for these troops. I ran a network of them, more than 6. I prospect for business for them. As much as possible, I try to be at their performances. As much as possible, I make sure that we have videos of some of these performances. So that if they need to speak any Brofo, please, I have all the Brofo you need in the world.
Yeah.
If they need to speak mathematics, which is beyond us, we look for people who speak the mathematics
that language,
that you need, the language that you speak best, and then we get them to you.
Sure.
And when it comes to the things that we do, you know that you can't take anything away from us. We give you the very best.
Awesome. I mean, let's touch on Asaase inscription. So, I mean, through your dealings with these people and all the poetic justice you've been delivering, I'm sure that's how you identify the gap in that industry.
Yes.
Yeah, to go into this business. But so far, how has it been? What has been your favorite part of starting your own business?
Okay, so I've run Asaase inscription since 2013.
Okay.
For a lot of it, I had a mobile office. My car was my office.
Your office?
Yes. My computer was my office. Sometimes I would work from home. Till recently, we got into this premises. My favorite part of running this is the creative bit.
Okay.
You know, what happens behind the scenes. I tell them most of the action takes place off stage before it happens on stage.
On stage.
So there's beauty in sitting back, strategizing, drawing up, how it looks like, getting on stage and seeing it play out. it's just so beautiful, knowing that we want to have this kind of effect on the audience, and we are just getting the right effect we wanted to have on them. The satisfaction. So that when you are done, the person who invited you comes to say thank you. Once that is done, any other thing anybody else adds is a bonus.
Yeah.
Or really falls off.
Yeah.
Do you get my point? That is my favorite part. That satisfaction that you derive when somebody walks up and says, Nana Asaase, thank you. That's my favorite part, the satisfaction that I get, because sometimes it gets frustrating putting these performances together.
What are some of the biggest challenges you faced?
Charlie. Sarah, some of the greatest challenges you face is putting a team together.
Okay.
Finding the right people to work with.
Mm.
Because we're working with people, we're dealing with expression. Imagine you have, I'm trying to find a very relevant example to go with. We deal with time. Time is very crucial. When people know it. Touch anything. When you touch my time, we're not really in good times.
So you need a time-conscious person.
Time-conscious person. People, the event is at 6. By 4:30, our lineup needs to be ready. Sound checked, drums, everything on point. 4:30. So 4:30 needs to be 4:30. Sometimes you show up, the client, they might be late, but at least we made our 4:30 because that was the mark we gave to ourselves. Do you get my point?
Yeah.
Yes. Sometimes you just need people to be honest with you. And yet the person can't be honest.
They can't.
So young man, young woman, my contemporary, I'm probably sending you on an errand in line with our business. I've run that errand 367 times. So I can tell you 365 reasons why the answer you're giving me is wrong.
It's wrong.
Or cannot be. Because I have done these things. I'm not sending you to do anything I have not done. Or anything I can't afford to do. I'm just affording space so that you fit into a value chain. So sometimes, dealing with people becomes the toughest thing. But let me say my biggest challenge has been myself. I feel I underwrite.
Okay.
I undercreate. I underperform every single time. I'm constantly looking to refine.
So that's some sort of imposter syndrome you're dealing with?
Look, I'm trying to deal with myself. I believe I can do so much more.
Okay.
I believe I can memorize so much more. I can employ language, in richer ways than I have done. Do you get my point? See, they said everybody is doing the same thing you're doing. How do you stand out?
Yeah.
You're only as good as your last performance. I don't want to cite any examples. You're only as good as your last performance.
Yeah.
So each performance deserves 101%.
You have to step up.
You look.
Break your own record.
Trust me, you can't drop the bar.
Yeah.
Because it's been repeat business for us. That's how we've survived these 11 years. It's been repeat business or recommendations from people you do not know. Because somebody saw your performance and recommended to another. Or you'd be surprised it might not even be your performance. Somebody just interacted with you and it was just your reception, the way you received them. That did the trick. So my biggest challenge has been me. I believe I could write more. I should have published a lot by now.
Yeah.
Of course, I've published in many ways via presentation or performance. It's also accepted as a mode of publishing. But in terms of books to be written, there's a lot of work to be put out there. So I feel I'm under par, really. There's so much for me to do. So I've been my biggest challenge.
And does that pressure pose a threat to your mental health?
Mental health.
I mean, it's beating yourself to do better, pushing so hard.
It can really weigh you down. It can really weigh you down when you have your sober moments of reflection, and you really want to go over the things you set out. Say 5 years ago, I said myself I should have hit this target by this time and all of that. If you do not take time,
it can mess you up a bit.
If you're a perfectionist, these things can really get to you. Sometimes, if you are one who is not content with, I love the little corner I have. I'm doing my best, knowing that the work will speak for itself.
Yeah.
People are in the habit of wanting to compare notes. Oh, Charlie, I started off with Samini. Wow, look at what she's doing. It should be me hitting this mark or me hitting that mark. Some people are not able to be genuinely happy for others. When you do that, you have a problem.
Yeah.
You develop too many conditions you're not supposed to develop. You think of things you're not supposed to be thinking about. Compare yourself with yourself. When
Who
you see
you were yesterday.
somebody is doing something amazing, look, compliment it. If you can, learn from it.
Yeah.
Best bet, still like an artist. That is all we all do.
So that's how you deal with competition?
No. I'm in a league of my own.
Okay.
Sarah, what I've been called to do, I'm in a league of my own.
Mm-hmm.
Someone is in a league of their own. Someone is probably writing prose. But I feel I could use some prose ideas in my poetry. Why not? And trade some poetry ideas for prose. Why not? Do you get my point?
Yeah.
So, I took your kind route, logoligi logarithms. Another route, anti-logo logarithms, in response to it. Anti-logo logarithms had the base of logoligi logarithms to be relevant.
Yeah.
You know, or a read to somebody does a cover. It's a cover of an original. So there has to be an original for somebody to want to, you know, to imitate anything of the sort. Do you get my point? Yes. And so it's good to pick from other creators. Our sources of creative ideas, right, can be other people's works. We all listen to other people's songs of motivation. One person does not have it all. That's what I'm saying, we're unique in our own ways. But you see, it is when our uniquenesses come together that multiplicity, that is where the beauty is seen. That unity in us is seen. That is where we make impact. Do you get my point? That is the beauty. Collaborations, that is what our people should learn and realize. That is the way to forge ahead.
That process, moving from your mobile office, what you refer to as your car, to setting up this office, how did you financially prepare for this?
How did I financially prepare for this? Charlie, when I'm looking for anything, I go and ask for the price. When I see something I like it, I go and ask for the price. I go back and talk to the one who sent me to do this.
You talk to your God?
I don't talk to my God, I talk to God.
Okay.
There's only God.
Yeah, one God.
There's God. He set me to do this.
Yeah.
I talk to him.
So that's your source.
This is what is coming.
Financial
and then
source.
he deals with times and seasons. I tell people my faith is bigger than my bank account, of course. Who pays a poet in Ghana, Sarah? I even asked who would allow their daughter to marry a poet in Ghana. Yeah. Well, somebody did.
Yeah.
You know, who pays a poet in Ghana?
Yeah.
You know, it's a big thing. But whatever you want to do, start small. Plan towards it. It's a gradual process. You know, and divine provision is just made when the timing is right. Look, when the timing is right, divine provision is made. Sarah, I need help. I come to you. Oh, Sarah, Nana, what do you need help with? Sarah, I want to buy a set of drums. How much will they cost? They cost 18,000 Ghana cedis. Do I expect you to carry 18,000 Ghana cedis and just give them? You won't even do that. If I came to you, Sarah, I need your help. Nana, what do you need? I need to buy drums. Sarah, they cost 18,000 Ghana cedis. But I have just about 13,000 Ghana cedis. You won't think twice. You give me the 5.
Yeah.
Because I've made some effort. You have seen some effort being made. What does that tell you? It means this person is serious.
You're serious about it.
Thank you very much. And then, you know, help will be given. And so I believe that whatever you choose to do, please take the step. You know, take that step too. You have to take the risk. Be bold. Just do it. Just do it.
And then divine provision.
Divine provision will be made.
Awesome.
Space from places you least expect, places you don't even expect. It might even be your own source, and you'll be surprised. How much do you get paid a month? Don't tell me. Check that, and check how much you spend a month.
It doesn't tally.
See, like we say, this life
we
with the balance.
Magicians,
the way we talk, say this life with the balance.
We are magicians, seriously.
Sarah, that equation
it never makes sense.
Let me say this in Chi. Monsieur Nyankopon fry is sikem.
Yeah.
Nyankopon fry is sikem. He always has a way. If you will be honest, that amount, the money they chop, Bosumi, versus what they earn, Bosumi, you know they tally.
At all.
You know why you go finish? You know they owe anybody to.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
Yeah. Divine provision.
Divine provision happens.
Yeah.
You know, divine provision happens. Divine provision is not just money. Having this interview is divine provision. Somebody is going to see this interview and say, let me get in touch with this person to do that for me. It was during Komla Dumas' funeral, the memorial that Multimedia had for him. There was a man, Mr. Crab, was watching all the way in Liberia. He started looking for me.
Okay.
Mr. Crab hunted all the way and got into, when he got into Ghana, the man came to find me. He says, it was because of this that I came looking for you. So you never really know.
You just give your best shot.
Just give your best
every
shot.
Opportunity.
Take the opportunity.
Yeah.
Start small. Start small. And you realize how it grows.
Sure.
You know? Yeah.
Tell me, how do you manage to stay attuned to all the emerging trends and technology that, I mean, day in, day out, new things are being developed, but as a poet, you need to imbibe all these in your delivery. How do you stay attuned to these things?
Make time. Make time. Spend you time. You need to spend a lot of me time. What do I mean by me time? When I'm done serving everybody else, I need a space where I'm with myself. That's where I also get to watch a bit of the kind of TV I want to watch. I can also pick my phone and go online and check what's going on in other parts of the world. What's going on in the poetry scene, what's going on in the writing scene, what's going on. There are relevant websites to the things we do. So you also know where to go and look. At least read some content. That's going. Charlie, take your time. You're a regular everyday person. Why don't you spend regular everyday person time with yourself? Do you get my point? You need to be abreast of the news, things that are going on, the new music that are being made, the plays that are coming up, you know, new people emerging. You should know what is going on. You should be on top of information because you are in the field and it's relevant to you. Otherwise, there's going to be a coup right behind your house because you don't listen. You wouldn't know what is going on.
Yeah.
2, you should have friends. Talk to people. When I'm not doing poetry, I'm talking to you. When I'm not doing poetry, I'm talking to people like IB.
Yeah.
You know, I have friends all over.
Yeah.
In different spaces. So even if you've not heard, somebody calls, Charlie, have you heard XYZ? Have you spoken to XYZ? Have you done?
Yeah.
Do you get my parents? Some of my friends are fellow artists in different fields, from actors to musicians to different people. So constantly we have conversations. We have interactions. So definitely you get to hear some of these things that are going on. I like to try new things. I like to try new things, new recipes. Yeah. So by new recipes,
good cook like that,
not just food. Oh, I like to cook.
Oh, awesome.
At least my mother taught me well.
Okay.
I learned well. Beyond food. You'll be surprised. My favorite food, no be anything.
I know that one.
You know.
Gary soaking.
Thank you very much. So what else you could think?
Yeah.
You know, so Charlie, constantly you need to be abreast of what we do. For all we do, Charlie, you need to read.
Yeah.
Read. Listen to music. Watch movies. Watch cartoons. Watch a lot of cartoons. Watch a lot of cartoons.
What does that do for you?
It sheds a lot of creative energy.
Okay.
You see, children learn a lot when they are playing. Now, a soul is constant.
Yeah.
Check your realities. When you're a child, till now, the you, beyond you seeing that have you changed?
No, really.
Calm down. The you that was you, that remember the you.
That child is always hiding somewhere.
You see that it is still there.
Yeah.
So the soul is a constant.
Yeah.
That's the divine channel. It's a constant. Yes. So take note of some of these things.
That's true.
Yes.
There's always that inner child.
There is always that little you in there.
There's always
you will always be you.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, considering all you do, I mean, it's linked to the creative industry, creative arts, and you've managed to leverage on your fame to, you know, keep your business going. What the creative industry in this country?
Yeah.
What are your views about its current state and how things are going?
I have a problem with the word creative industry. It's too broad.
So I mean, there's a
and do we have a
creative?
Do we have a creative industry?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, we have a creative industry.
Yeah.
But it's too broad.
Okay.
Shout out to all the cameramen who are videoing this. They are artists without realizing.
Yeah.
They are part of the creative industry.
Yeah.
Now, you realize there are a lot of bodies within the creative sector. So there's FIPAC, there's Poetry Association of Ghana, Actors Guild, so many.
So many.
Them. So it behoves on these small groupings to ensure that they press for proper leadership.
Yeah.
See, when we are pressing for leadership, we're always looking for some guy at the top, president, do this, minister, do this. But within our little associations, if these little bodies are not working well, when you feed them into the bigger mechanism, there will be malfunctions.
Yeah.
Because if the creative bus is moving and musica is malfunctioning, it means that the musica, what do you call it? the fuse. It's not working. So
Yeah.
music has fuse is off, which means there's something going awry, in the creative sector. So in our little corners, let's look at these things. In personal practice, let us pay attention to personal practice. Let's pay attention to finishing. Let's pay attention to things like detail. Do you get my point? Let's pay attention to the whole value chain. How does it look like? Because people are part of the creative sector without necessarily being practicing artists or practicing creators. Somebody might be a business person, but he is functioning within that creative sector. Do we have structures that govern things? We're always fighting things like copyright. We're having unnecessary beefs.
Yeah.
The beef say we will take do soup or something. I don't know.
This is good for business.
Oh please, which kind of business?
The music business.
Okay, it's fine. Let them let them see what is good for you, what works for you.
Wouldn't work for another.
Hold on to it. Let it work. Let us look at the kind of impact we want to make.
Okay.
I feel we're scattered. We're scattered. When you talk of the, in quotes, creative industry, people are thinking of film, fashion.
Yeah.
What's that all? Music.
There is music.
Essentially, beyond these three, people don't really think much of things like
There's
photography.
the spoken word.
People don't think of photography, cinematography. People don't think of painting. People don't think of drumming. People don't think of these things. But these are essential parts.
The jewelers and all that.
People don't think of things like carvings, sculpting, the crafts, the indigenous crafts that really made us as a people, West Africans, really well noted. People were noted goldsmiths, blacksmiths. Where are these? We don't even count them as art. We don't even count them as creativity. Weaving. When in the past people would come all the way from different parts of the continent just to buy cloth from here or beads from here. Okay, so there's so much potential untapped. Must we always have potential energy? Charlie, kinesis is good. Kinesis is good. Movement. Change, I say change is the only dynamic constant. So constantly we should be looking at how to improve upon the things we have done. But again, like I said, let's not forget the back without which there's no front. There are practitioners who have gone before. How do you hope to make progress when you just won't feel like, oh, Charlie is old school, drop it and let's go? No. For instance, High Life is ours. We are trying to get High Life enlisted as one of Ghana's intangible cultural heritages. We're trying to enlist Kente as cultural heritage, tangible. High Life as intangible. High Life is ours. How much High Life are we producing now? How much High Life are we producing now? As against techno beats.
We can't really boast of it.
As against techno beats.
And the Afro beats and the,
Afro has a base in High Life, but I mean, how much of what is ours are we producing?
We claim it's dying.
Charlie, we are killing it. If it's dying, they are. If it's really dying, then we are the ones killing, suffocating our own child at home. When we are done, we go stand in the market square and call people to come and help revive the child. And we are suffocating right here at home. My people, let me come to the doorstep of the media in that creative space. You're also creatives. Thank you very much. Please, there's a lot of talent at home. Let us project them for free. The West makes their superstars, project them in their media space, and want to make news. Somebody buys a golden bra for his girlfriend. People, how does that benefit anybody this part of the world?
But some also like that kind of news.
Some also like, whichever way it is. They might not be artists or they might not be practitioners or whatever it is. But at the long run, let's look at the whole value chain. Look, whatever you're doing, realize that you're part of a system or you're part of a value chain from top to bottom. What benefit? What really is it accruing, to all of us? Do you get my point? But you see, this artist gets out there and does something fantastic. We talk about it 2-3 days, it fizzles out.
That's just it.
But things which are not really relevant to our system are the things we want to uphold. I don't want to give you a Ghana soccer example today. But within our art space, please, let's be proud of the things we have. Let's project our music. Let's project our poetry. Let's project our textiles and our food ways. We shouldn't wait for March to have Ghana month, Friday to have Ghana Friday or whatever it is. It's sad. We should have an everyday Ghana. See, Ghana morning, afternoon, evening, night. That's why I deliberately would wear cloth or smoke every single day. If you see me wear any of these things, typically it wouldn't have any designer's name on it. It's been smokes from the when to when. Or friends and Kinti from a pile of them. Because these are the things that make us as people. I have lots of ahinima because these are the things. It has medicinal value, people do not know. Now people are trying to put cushions and different things in them. Fine, innovation and all of that, but the original, the way it was made, had its own meaning. Let us find out what it is. See, if you do not know the rules, you don't know how to bend it safely.
So if you were to be made a minister for us...
If you're deputy.
You want a deputy? What would you do? I mean, for the tourism marketing...
If I could influence policy.
Yeah.
Then make me president first. Then we'll talk about that. Make me president first.
Be a president for...
Thank you. If I was president, I would enter, parliament and see how we're able to draw all the buttons down. Yaguno.
I mean, the whole...
Commission on Culture, Ministry of...
all the agencies and everything.
Yeah, Charlie. Freeze all of them.
Yeah.
Take your time and put one body together. Ministry, if it's a Ministry of Tourism, let's have a Ministry of Tourism.
Yeah.
If it's a Ministry of Arts and Culture or Cultural Affairs, let's put that together. They can be two separate entities. Do you get my point? If it's one entity, let's make sure it's operating as one entity. Otherwise, tourism is gaining to the deficit of, the arts and culture. Yet, these tourists coming, what is the tourism without the...
interconnected. One can't, do without the other.
And this battle with Commission on Culture versus the ministry, I don't want to wade into all that politics. There's too much replication on roles, people. When the system can just be so fluid. So if I was president, that's what I would do. Now, plug me into minister or deputy.
The deputy...
Minister and son deputy.
Yeah.
Which one first?
The minister comes first.
If I was a minister. If I was a minister of tourism, what would I do?
Yeah.
Okay. I would see to it that I'll make promises I can keep.
Okay.
First and foremost. Set realistic targets. Do you get my point? As a poet, I told you, Charlie, I have a show on this day. I would deliver. Which simply means I made a promise and I've kept it.
Yeah, you kept it.
All right. Now, I'll go back and look at indigenous ways of architecture, for instance. I'll bring together, crop of creators, your Ejakunimos, those guys who are, put together a very solid national body of the East Culture. Set up a fantastic academy. People from different parts of the continent would come to the center of the world to learn. If it's music, they are coming down. If it's painting, they are coming down. If it's architecture, they are coming down. Now, how do we use these local materials, right, to change our landscapes? To change our landscapes. Because I say, look, the arts really hold the basis for science and whichever other sector there is. Architecture really comes in from us. At Akwame buildings, what is the science behind all these laterite arts? Those are some of the coolest places you could
considering our climate and everything.
Professor Francis Kerry, Burkina Faso, he's used these, laterite stuff to build strong structures. How can we explore things like this? Our tourist destinations, honest,
very bad.
Deliberate investment. The agri people are looking at feeder routes. We're also looking at tourist routes. Some of these tourist sites, Then when we get to these tourist posts, there are spaces, offices and all of that. Can we get these places running properly? 3, let's look at narratives. What stories do we tell people when they go to these spaces? I once went to the Tekwashi Cocoa Farm. I'm a tour guide when I had the time. Tekwashi Cocoa Farm. The moment he started his narration, Tekwashi smuggled cocoa to Ghana, I was like, young man, please hold it right there. Actually, I had to do it openly. I couldn't hold it anymore. Tekwashi did what? And all the gold they carried from here to whichever part of the world, they took it.
They took it.
Please, go
representation and even
and look
how we communicate.
We produce the best cocoa in the world, and you are showing these tourists practically how the preservation process is done. Are you not just selling our trade secrets right there in the open? Let's have some mystique. Mystique would be my 4th element to deal with. In these tourist centers, let's have some mystique. That is why the foreigners keep coming for our festivals. Look at these rituals. He's been allowed to capture this, but this has been hidden. He's hoping that next time, a little more shift will be given to him. So he keeps coming back. Let us play on elements like that. Let's look at the indigenous crafts once more. Let's see. These are things that really sell us. These are things that sell. Countries like Kenya are so big on these crafts. Let's look at the things that are unique to us and sell us. Let's come big on these things. Let us look at, liaise with Ministry of Education. Let's look at our languages. Let us look at our languages.
What's being taught in schools?
What is being taught as art, even. So if I was minister, these are some things I'd really pay attention to. And then I'll delve into the issue of copyright. Now, that would still mean collaboration. Let's get in touch with our legal brains.
Yeah.
Brains need to go on the other. Legal needs to go on the other. So we'll get in touch with our legal brains now.
Yeah.
Let them streamline Ghana's copyright structure and see how it plugs into WIPO. You know, the World Intellectual Property Organization. You know, all these things. Regulate bodies like GAMRO and see how we can set up bodies like GAMRO, you know, which is doing its best for musicians.
It doesn't even have a license now. I think the last time I checked.
Yeah. Fine. Let's see how we can replicate this policy for maybe people who run cultural troops. Let's see how we can do it for people who are into camera, you know, cinematography. You know, let's make sure that we are in groups. That's what I was talking about, these bodies being well organized and well recognized. You know, so the government support is not just money. We have a grant of this, you assess it, and we're not able to follow up and track what is really going down. Now, if I was Deputy Minister of Tourism, guys, when I tour the whole of Ghana, it's important to see and know. So once you see, you experience its food waste, people, let's document.
Yeah.
Let's document. We have fantastic filmmakers in Ghana.
Yeah.
Let's document. We have fantastic musicians. Let's make music about Ghana. We have fantastic poets. Let's write about Ghana. And let's put it out. Let's put these things out on official websites. Look, let's make films about Ghana. I've yet to see a Ghanaian movie, a proper Ghanaian movie.
Telling the Ghanaian story.
Which is beating Ghanaian drums at a Ghanaian festival, properly staged.
But all these need some sort of investment.
Definitely they need investment. So attracting the right kind of investments are also another thing.
And there's this whole thing about sponsorship or investment from the corporate side, where corporate bodies are not really seeing the vision or buying into that.
Emphasize Ghanaian corporates.
Exactly.
When you cross over to Nigeria.
No, we are talking Ghana.
I'm giving you a nice example. When you cross over to Nigeria, they are multinationals, but they are Nigerians working in these multinationals. Those Nigerians working in those multinationals realize the power of the art. And so they help to push their local artists. Here, once they get behind the corporate high wall, sorry, at this time we can't deal with this, and we need to observe a bit, that's okay. To the detriment of the greater good.
Yeah.
Rules are made for people. People are not made for rules.
So they can be broken?
Not broken. They can be amended.
Tweak
they
them.
can be,
Yeah, I mean,
definitely. Somebody calls the shots.
Yeah.
Somebody pushes the button. Let there be light. Somebody pushed the button. I know him. I'll tell you later. So it takes people to make these things happen. Do you get my point? So please, let us, our corporates, there are Ghanaians working in very reputable places who have the power, who have the means. Now they want to cloud it with a corporate direction, and we don't do this and we don't support that. Charlie, the Brofo know they help you. No. Yet, when they have all their events, they need all these artists, same artists. They need all these crafts to give us gifts to their people.
Yeah.
You know, so what business now do you have patronizing those things to give to people to take away when you cannot help to keep these invest, you know, keep these things
businesses afloat.
Yes. So if I was Minister of Tourism as well, I'll look into art schools. I know there's something coming up from Kuma, but a lot more. Art schools which are not even academic. Indigenous art schools which are not even academic. You know, I would identify key guys who are doing things, you know, from the various regions. Build tourism. When I need tourism ambassadors, sorry. Our footballers are doing great, but I won't have a footballer as my tourism ambassador, as my cultural ambassador. Maybe a tourism ambassador just to draw people to the destination. But you need cultural ambassadors who promote education on, you know, our culture and really what it is. Right. Well, in a little while, our subscriptions will be paid to Ghanaianize a lot of people. I believe so.
Yeah. Awesome. So, what's that philosophy you live by?
Philosophy. Depends on the part of life we're talking about.
So your business?
My business. Like I told you, every state deserves 101%. Because you're only as good as your last performance.
Okay.
That is what you're remembered for.
Yeah.
You're only as good as your last performance.
Who are the people who inspire you when it comes to business?
When it comes to the likes of Ambassador Edward Boateng,
Yeah.
you know, Global Media Likes, look, we used to call Mr. CNN, or Dada Boots. We used to call Dada Boots behind his but he knew about it. You know, he has this calm demeanor in the face of, no matter what the situation is, he has a very calm demeanor. You should meet Joel Nete. Have you met Joel?
Yeah.
You met Joel. Joel has this overpowering calm. At the same time, guy is giving pressure and giving fire. He's done well for himself because they've built these things of good interpersonal relationships. Do you get my point? They know that people make the businesses thrive. And so what do? They open up to people and they do some of these things. There are some negotiations I will never get into. There are people who need to get into those negotiations on our behalf, just to ensure that we are not shooting, not just ourselves, but people who are coming after us in the foot.
Any new projects we should look forward to?
Any new projects? So we have the 7th edition of the Mental Pictures series coming up. You know, Mental Pictures is an annual thing that we run. This is the 7th edition. And it's entitled Bejina.
Bejina.
Bejina, the child who will stay. Yeah.
Okay.
It's coming off on the 24th of November.
Oh,
that's
very much.
next week, Friday.
Next week, yeah.
Yes, at the La Palm Royal Beach Hotel, right there on the lawns. I want to give you a Ghanaian immersion. So Bejina is simply about, you realize when women would give birth and they keep dying, they have that one child who is planted, who stays.
Yeah.
Right? We believe we need to cross 7 rivers of life. When you've crossed 10, you've crossed 1.
Okay.
After 10, literally, sort of fish, you die. And you are assessed to check whether he's fit to come back. So when you hit 11, it's a start over. This is our 11th year.
Awesome.
A start over. Bejina, the child who will stay after crossing the first, is proving himself worthy, you know, to be given the nod to continue. We're looking at the element of birth in various Ghanaian, you know, cultural groupings. We always have our local bar.
Yeah.
You can enjoy. You have some beautiful Ghanaian music, and you'll be surprised by some dances you never even knew existed. It's also a very fantastic platform for networking. It's open to diasporans, it's open to Ghanaians, to everybody. Look, it's an official listed 10 event and Accra World Book Capital event as well. So please, you get a ticket at the gate. 100 Ghana cedis single, 180 couple tickets. If you want to get a ticket in advance, can I put a number out?
Sure, you can.
Okay, so 0264 588865. 0264 588865. Her name is Araba. Araba will answer you. You can reserve your ticket ahead of time. Please don't miss her.
Bejina.
Bejina.
We'll be there.
It'll be good to have you there.
I'll definitely be there. I mean, it's always a good time seeing you perform, and there's always something to take home from that. So I'm looking forward to that one.
And we have the pressure of delivering to your pleasure.
I know, right?
Everything has to be a rhyme like that.
Yeah. I've enjoyed my time spending time with you today.
Sarah.
Thank you so much
Pleasure.
for making time for this to happen.
Thank you for having
I really
us.
appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having
And a big thank you to you for doing the watching. But till I come your way same time next week, my name is Amele Josu and this is Celebis. Stay safe and be blessed.
It's another wonderful Friday. Welcome to PM Personality Profile, people. My guest tonight, he is a professional development planner and economist with 28 years experience in professional policy practice. Kojo SM Mensa Brampa. He's currently the Director General of the National Development Planning Commission, NDPC. I'm happy that we finally met.
Thank you.
It's
also a pleasure. Very, very well.
Great. I'm privileged to sit with a development planner. I've been looking for one to ask so many questions.
Interesting.
On my mind.
Interesting.
Now that I've found you, let's talk about Accra.
Yes.
Was there ever a plan on how Accra should be developed? If there was, why is Accra in such a mess?
Yes, there have been so many plans for Accra. Way back in the colonial era, the Georgesburg time, they started. And that's quite, very early in development practice, the 1920s. Accra to have its first plan, which included the provision of key social facilities and also the dimension of activities and usage of our land. The Celebis Teaching Hospital, Achimota School, the University of Ghana, all these things were things that were planned at that time, the major streets, all the way from the castle through to University of Ghana. Then going to the west, you go all the way to the Celebis, coming to the east or west Odoa. So they had this, and then they actually reviewed it. One of the things which I think the planners got it wrong, but it was planned for in the 1950s, the 1951. They thought that the development trust of Accra would be towards Dodoa. So more to the eastern side than the western side. That was the trust. So if you look at the map in 1951, and it was led by one of my own professors, Professor B.A.W. Trevelyan, and it had very seasoned planners, C.N.K. Boateng, Ayubonte, and all these people working on that. And when this plan was done, it was really rigorous at that time. You cannot put up a house without a permit, very strict. And then this was followed. But then you realize instead of the development dimension, the trust going more to the east, it started more to the west because of the attraction and the pull from Sekendi Takrade. Because that was the port city. So it started pulling the development activities more towards the west than the east. So you realize that the areas towards Kasua and those places started developing very fast, and then also the stretch from Odoko, Kaneshi, and all those places joining up to Malam, it started developing very fast. So that was the first indication of development growing faster than the plan. So instead of concentrating on the east, then the shift then came to the west. So another plan was developed in 1963. There was a whole review of the Accra redevelopment and where these activities should be. Because that time it was very clear with the development of Tema Harbour. There is now a challenge to the western development because there is Tema Harbour which was also taking up a lot of the activities. And therefore there was the thinking that Accra will more internalize rather than stretching up. But at that time, as a national capital, there was a pull again to the northern part. Okay, so if you look at there was a big pull to the northern part. Because that is the time the northern part of the country too had opened up. Kumasi, going all the way to Tamale, and all the way to the north. It was opening up. So that was also the stretch. And then the whole Achimota stretch also started. Achimota all the way to Amasama, and then going towards in somewhere. So, and this was also another planned pull. So you realize that the first major motorway to facilitate a rapid transit from the town and out was more than Samwem than the Sekendi Takrade or the Dodoa. And this was a deliberate means to bring development more towards the northern part than stretching it to the west as it was. And this was also good because you realize that on that stretch, there was a whole planned regime from Tesano through Achimota, going towards Jonte and all those areas. You see that whole stretch going. The challenge in Accra, which is fundamental, is that the whole stretch below the mountains to the sea are all areas that are liable to flood. And therefore, when these plans were being made, in some areas, the buildings were even put on stitches, so as to make way for the flow of water when it rains, because they knew that water would definitely come from the Kwapi Mountains, from the Shai Hills, and flow towards the sea over here.
Yep.
And then, given the fact that that place is made of sandstone, it means there will be a huge silt deposit along the way. And therefore, you need to make way, because the drains will be filled. If the drains are filled, the water will flood all over. And flooding means that you need to have stitches by which they could flow. So if you look at the areas around Ridge, even Roman Ridge, cantonments, and all those places, some of the buildings were on stitches. It is not because they want to create a story building or a pseudo-story building, but they want to create way for the waterway. Again, in the European time and in the planning perception, these concrete walls were earlier. Because the idea was to have a real fauna, using it for a wall, so that it will facilitate drainage as well as creating the beauty for the town. And one of the things I remember, which I learned from my lecture room, was looking at the morphology of the town. So it means that if you fly up and you look at the city, how does it look like? And this is something that planners fancy. And you could see it in the 63 reviewed plan.
That they took it into
consideration. They took it into consideration, all these things, to make sure that the drainage problem is solved, flooding is avoided, and then also have defined areas of activities. This is commercial, this is residential, this is a mix-up, this is a low-income area, this is a high-income area. And you see that planners are very deliberate. The low-income areas are not far from the high-income areas. Because the idea is that the people from the low-income areas are going to serve those in the high-income areas. And therefore, if you keep a longer distance, it becomes costly. So they think they thought through all these things. But in planning, we have what we call, there should be an intervening opportunity. So creating intervening opportunity means that you are absorbing people outside Accra, outside Kumasi, so that they could find opportunities there. And this is what the long-term perspective is anticipating. So if we can look at the mining area as one circuit of job opportunities, then you pull population there, you pull infrastructure there, and then you'll be doing same. If it's a commercial area, let's say around Techiman, you develop an enclave of agro-processing enclave, industrial enclave, and then if somebody leaves Pusiga and is coming to look for a job, he will not pass by Techiman because they have the capacity to provide the intervening opportunity there. So this is how it has been planned. Now implementing it requires resources. It requires resources, and not only that, but also there is a need for a dialogue because of the nature of our land tenure system. Land generally belongs to families, stools and skeins. And therefore, if you plan, you must plan with the owners.
Definitely.
Which is key. And for many a times, planners, I remember when we were in school, you would do very nice things on paper. And the lecturer tells you, now go and have a dialogue with the community. So we'll be sent to the community and then fascinated, displaying our things, and then they will start telling us the history of the place and all and that and social situation. And you realize that all the nice drawings you did is useless. Which means that planning is very expensive. It's an interface with communities. And imagine the number of communities we have in the country. To be able to have interface and general agreement with the owners, to be able to implement, is not that easy and not that cheap. Put at the apex of this is the Land Use Planning and Spatial Planning Authority, which has to implement. National Development Planning Commission proposes, have a discussion with them, agree on the technical viability of the plan. But when it comes to space, it is LUSPA, the Land Use and Spatial Planning Authority, that pushes that. But it is one of the most challenged institutions we have in this country in terms of resources, both physical and personnel. If you go to Europe, in the school where I attended, we don't go to the field and be dragging, some of these survey things to be able to gather things on space and do measurements. They're using drones. If you go to the department now, I don't think they have a single one of that. And if they want to do it, they might have to go and hide. We just did a pilot case in one district, Asokwa, we had to hide the drones to be able to do the survey. And after going through all these rigorous things, the amount of money we spent to be able to have a very good map. But the good thing was that when we finished doing it and we're doing the presentation, this is technology. We use the drones as we're presenting it on the map to be flying over. So the chiefs and the community leaders did not only see paper, they also saw what we were talking about, the relationship.
Yes.
To the point that when they saw the potential of their place, the closeness of that place to Obuasi, the closeness of that place to Kumasi, the closeness of that place to Fosu, and they realized that they lie in the middle of a huge commercial opportunity. Immediately they said, oh, then we cannot be giving our land just like that. We think that what these people are saying, we must listen to it. This place holds a huge commercial opportunity. And they saw it because we were flying the drones from Kumasi to from Fosu, from Obuasi, and they saw the potential and the closeness even to Eastern region, just crossing the Pra River. So planning has gone to the point that it's a dialogue facilitated by technology. It requires investment, it requires knowledge and modern knowledge. So it is a challenge. But I think that if we're able to prioritize and going by the plans that we have, medium term, short term and long term, and be able to prioritize the logic, it may be faster, and some of us might see it before we go to the other side of the world. Ghana on its feet, and Ghana on its way to real progress.
I want to believe that's what the National Development Planning Commission has been doing all this while. But let's talk about your 28-year career of planning and being an economist and what have you, and the inroads that have been made so far. I'll begin with you as a technical advisor for local development for UN Capital Development Fund, responsible for 14 countries in Africa as well as Arab states. Were you present in all these countries?
Yes.
Okay.
You are once you are in charge of those countries, you might be physically located in one country with an office, but your presence is in all these countries. That's how we work. So other than hiring people for all these areas, you provide technical support. So the country, the nationals, are the ones who are in charge, we're doing it, but you are responsible because the United Nations is investing. So you are responsible. If anything goes wrong, you will be asked first.
You will be responsible.
Exactly. It was very interesting, very, very interesting, and a changing moment in my life. Big trust. Because in these 14 countries, almost all of them were post-conflict.
Wow.
Yes. Because I was overseeing, at that time, Mozambique, Rwanda, Uganda, Eritrea, Yemen, Congo, Tanzania, Ethiopia. Those were fairly out of conflict for a very long time. But these are some of the countries, including Angola. And all these had come out of conflict. And it included my almighty Somalia and Sudan.
Oh,
yes.
Interesting.
So these were countries I was in charge. The key thing was that when the UN facilitates a peace situation, when the soldiers leave, what you have to do is to sow development. So we have experts who are going there to sow development. And the UN Capital Development Fund is one of the few UN institutions that can invest, that provides capital. Most of the others provide capacity support, but we're providing capital. So we can go support microfinance institutions and provide the seed fund for microfinance. We can go and provide infrastructure, schools, hospitals, bridges, roads, and all those things. That was what we were facilitating. So it was very interesting. Can you imagine you go to a country, there's no government?
Wow.
And you are supposed to provide infrastructure. Can you imagine that? Yes. So these were some of the things I had to go through. I remember when I went to, the first time I went to Somalia, I stopped over in Kenya, in Nairobi, and I said, well, I'm supposed to be, I'm the new officer who is going to be introduced to Somalia. And they said, no, Somalia, they have their office here.
Okay.
Oh, how can you have Somali office in Nairobi? He said, well, we have it here. I said, no, but I would like to go there. No, UN staff, you need permission from here, permission from there. So I started having a dialogue with the regional, the resident coordinator. So will you risk? I said, yes, I would like to go. And when I was going, we had only a UN, flight to the place. I remember when we landed, there was nothing like a real airport.
Okay.
It was a gravel space, like a road with a gravel, and that's where we landed.
Interesting.
And the shaking of the plane itself was a good welcome for me. And then I went there, and there was a UN quarters where we had some very few strategic institutions there. UNICEF, and then ones in charge of humanitarian and then refugees and other things. And if you look around it, they built what they call the protective wall. It's made of huge sandbags all around the building.
I can imagine.
So wow. So this is where I'm going to stay. So I went in there. We had an office, the UN office, and they were very happy. Well, because they were so excited because we hold the capital.
Yeah.
The others come and build the capacity of the people. So when you visit any country, they give you the biggest reception.
Okay.
Oh, these people are bringing the money. And I was in charge for Southern and Eastern Africa, so I went there. Everybody was excited. But the difference I spotted, because of all the heads there, I was the only African.
Oh, interesting.
So immediately there was a big attraction.
Okay.
I remember I went to the president and we spoke. And the coincidence, one of my lecturers at KNUST was a mate to the president of Somalia when they schooled in London.
Oh, interesting.
So immediately I said, from Ghana, oh, in Nkrumah's Ghana. Oh, fine. I was so excited. And then he started, oh, but by the way, there was a man who was my mate in a school in London. He did architecture.